Hi, guys.
Hey, Bola.
You're like this.
You're upside down.
What'd you say?
You're
Oh, am I?
Yeah, you
Is
go.
it better?
Yes.
I was trying to make room for Mac because
I
he's
know. It's
running a
dark
little
over
late.
here too.
You're gonna have to back it up. That's
Yeah.
what you did.
Yeah.
You back it up? Okay.
Yeah. Just back it up.
Is it better?
Dude, you backed it up and you're still showing like 3/4 of yourself. Yeah.
That's perfect.
And half of me. Imagine. Voila.
I know, these men. That's why I'm glad I'm positioning myself before Mac comes.
Okay.
Let me make sure I'm situated. Let me situate the situation.
Yeah.
You know, this is my first time going live, so I don't know anything about this.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
What's up, Bola?
You know,
What's
y'all,
going on?
you know, we hanging in there, just trying to stay alive. This week definitely has it's done it. You see all the gray in my hair?
That's what I'm staring into. Like, what's going on? What is this? What is going on?
This is what happens. This is what happens when they won't let us out of the house to go get a haircut. This is what I look like.
You look beautiful. Embrace
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Are you gonna die?
You know, I actually want to go blonde. I want to go more blondish. But I have to cut it first. This length I don't like. I like it like much shorter. So yeah. So we'll see.
It'll look nice on you.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway.
I just need something different at this point. But we can get started because Mac claimed he went to the store 2 hours ago, and I haven't seen him since. So yeah. So
Well,
he's on his way. He knows about it, but we can get started.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're watching us, please double tap, share. We're gonna talk some real stuff. So we have 2 people watching us. So double tap. That way, Instagram algorithms will come to their brains and then share it. We have 50,000 followers. They only share with 11 people. Isn't that
Wait,
dumb?
what? I don't get it.
We have 50,000 followers on this page. And before I go live, it tells you how many people are active. It says 11.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you understand the algorithms, the way it works on this organic?
I don't know nothing about it. When you said algorithm, I said, yep, that's definitely above me. I don't get it.
Well, you know, back in the days, you used to just post stuff. No matter how long a person that follows you comes back, they will still see it on their timeline, right?
Yeah.
Back in the days, on their timeline, on the newsfeed, they will still see it. But because of the population of more people coming online, everyone can't see your stuff because everyone else's posts is being. So they use the algorithm to decide who should see what on their timeline.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you double tap it, then it makes it easy for folks
It tells the AI that somebody is enjoying something over here, and then the robot thinks they should show it to more people.
Right.
Okay.
It's not exactly dumb. We're not active enough, so that's the way it works when you're not active enough on the platform.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
how are you guys?
We're gonna have some fun.
Go ahead.
Who is you have noise in your background?
I do. Should they stop? That's Nuame. I'm in my living room. Should I go to the study?
Nuame, just give him a conk on the head. He will stop.
Don't give him
Mommy's doing something, so be careful. So you guys can, you're wearing headset, so you can actually hear.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is the sound coming in clear though? Or
it's not bad. It's clear. It's clean.
It's very loud.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna have some fun. We have about by the hour mark, it will cut off, and then we'll come right back on because they give you like an hour limit.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we prepare for like 2 hours or so. All right. So we're gonna have some fun. As I said about a million times, we have a question that we will tackle as people come in. They will see it, and it's been there already. But we have 2 questions that we really want to ask you and Mack. And luckily enough, the first question was for you.
Okay.
For the lady. It's ladies first, right?
Yeah, so Bola has to introduce herself first.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I'm just saying,
Go into it.
that's true. Yeah. So let me first of all introduce Bola. I need to introduce Bola.
Introduce her. Jesus.
All right. So everyone, welcome. My name is Ola. This is Lola. Welcome to lolaola.com. And this is today is a special one because we have special guests, and we're gonna hang out with them, and we're just gonna talk this real stuff together. Bola that you're looking at on the screen is my cousin, my friend. I've known her all my life, so I don't know exactly how I would introduce her, but she's my sister. More importantly, she's my sister. So it's really family here today.
Yes.
Yes. And in a little bit, husband will join us, so we can talk this couple marriage
If
stuff.
he's still alive, we don't know who this man is. If he's still alive.
Yeah. He'll be back just in time. Watch it. So without any further ado, this is Bola Audena. Need fucking lady.
Yeah.
I have to say fucking lady. I have to. Right?
I know, but they've paid for the Audena, so we've got to be fair to them.
Okay.
So
That's why I said need fucking lady. That means
exactly. They've paid. I'm fully bought and paid for, and now I'm here. So, but no, it's always great to hang out with you guys. We go way back, family. One of my earliest memories is I think I broke my arm. And I probably was like 4 or 5 or something, and my parents had traveled, and they left us with you guys in Nigeria to be babysat. So I do remember, that. But lots of memories. Bola Audena. I am the host of Some Days Today, which is where I'm coming from today. If you haven't subscribed, liked, shared, commented.
Let's do it.
Go ahead.
Let's do it. Do the work.
Go ahead and do yourself a favor and go ahead and get plugged in.
Yes.
But I'm married to my husband we've been married now since 2010. So I guess 10 years? No, since 2008, 12 years. But we've been together for 22 years. So,
22 years.
But he's going to be joining us shortly. But I'm ready to get into it.
So tell us really quickly before we dive into the question for you. Tell us really quickly what Someday is today. What is it about? It's a podcast. What is it about?
It is a podcast. You know what? It's evolving every day. I've actually had it for going on a year now, and it's a podcast that encourages you to really just live your best life. And that can be in the form of marriage, your other relationships with your family members, your career, what you're aspiring to do. Embrace, the new term that I'm calling it is multiplicity, and it's as a result of Mack. A lot of times we think we're just designed or destined for one thing, but we are people who are interested in a lot of different things. We're multifaceted. So embrace it, explore everything, live in multiple places, have multiple careers, have multiple business ventures, do what you want with your life, and just do it now. Stop delaying it till you retire. So that's a long ass time. So let's get it done.
Which means never. For a lot of people, it's probably never.
I know.
Yeah.
And how sad, right? There's so much.
Go ahead? You were saying?
I was like, how sad to just delay your life in such a way. You can get up every day literally and just be happy, do what you want and feel fulfilled, as opposed to delaying it. So yeah.
Right.
I think that's a huge thing.
What do you think about retirement itself? What do you think of it? Is that like?
I don't understand. Not my goal. So I don't understand the concept, but I think that's how they've sold, at least in America, in a lot of Western society, I think that's how they've sold the idea of committing all of your life to an endeavor that doesn't fulfill you. So it's kind of like hanging the carrot in front of you that, don't worry, 45, 50 years from now, you'll be able to enjoy life, when it doesn't even make sense. We pay so much in terms of our life, energy. We trade in time with family for a corporation that barely helps us make our ends meet. It's not even as if you're living lavishly, all for the idea or the concept that one day you can retire and live okay. And even now we're hearing that a lot of people retire and don't even have much to show for it, and they're still struggling and have to pick up a part-time. Exactly. So it's a silly idea. I think start with the end in mind, meaning what do you want to do in retirement, and start doing it now. So yeah, that's my idea.
Now your entrepreneurship journey started like how long ago?
So it's funny, I feel like I've actually been an entrepreneur in various ways, a huge chunk of my career. So if you guys remember, I used to do an event planning business with a bunch of friends.
Well, you did our traditional wedding.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Oh, we did. I forget about that. Yes. So I've always been interested in entrepreneurship, more so because I think it's a creative outlet for me. So even though when I started, I didn't see it as a full-time thing, it was always a part-time thing, but I needed to do something to explore my creative side. So back then it was really event design, event decoration, sort of helping a bride or a couple manifest an idea for themselves for what they want for their day. So I've done that. I've done other types of technology businesses in Nigeria. I've done a little bit of stuff here in America. And my latest is really just business consultation. So I have officially embraced the full-on entrepreneurship journey, and I am, my own employer. I go out and kill what I'm going to eat, and I eat it. If I work and make money, I eat. If not, I don't. You know what I mean? So just going back to the basics. If not, I figure it out. So just going back to the basics, and I think it's been really, really exciting. And part of what Someday is Today is to track that journey, because I, like a lot of other people, really also struggled with the decision, particularly when you have children, the decision to do your own thing, the feeling like it's the irresponsible thing to do. You're sort of balking the traditional sense of success. And also kind of going the paved path, a path that doesn't require a lot of strategy or overthinking. If you just stay on that path, your check is going to come and all of that. Right. But to me, it was just too mind numbing, and it didn't allow me to fully self-actualize from my perspective. So I really just had to trade it in and go to work for myself.
And go for it. Some days today.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now, what do you think? Obviously, this whole COVID-19, blah, 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 pandemic stuff, this craziness that's going on right now. What do you think about the timing of it? I mean, your recent shift, going the business consulting way. How do you feel with everything that's shifting? People are now working from home.
Yeah.
Just not too long ago, you and your husband interviewed us on the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And I told you to go get Zoom, right? And now Zoom is like a household thing, right?
As the thing. Yeah.
What do you think the future of this whole thing is going to be?
It's the future of this thing. It's hard to say exactly what the future would be. So in our business, we're very much about leveraging technology, streamlining your business, and doing more with less. So technology has always been a part of our business. We've always wanted to be able to work remotely from any part of the world. So for us, this makes sense. It's almost like, well, there's no surprise here. It all makes sense for our business model. And if anything, it makes it easier for us to make a case as to why businesses. Mack is just joining us, so I'm moving over.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
What's up, big guy?
How's everything going?
You can use this.
You made it. Awesome.
I made it.
Good.
Running late, my bad.
I know.
Good, no problem.
Like we didn't know what time this was scheduled for. We knew what time this was scheduled for, didn't we?
Avido and WizKid is having a face-off right now, right? Listen, first and foremost, she schedules these things and don't tell me anything.
Oh,
things about
there you go. There's always a
That's
good
not
reason.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
with everything that's going on right now, I think we know one thing that life happens. So we just have to roll with the punches, right?
You just gotta roll. It is what it is.
There it is.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So the question is, what do we think about what's going on with COVID, and how does it impact maybe our business, and what's our perspective for what it's how the world is going to be post COVID?
Okay.
Yes, I was saying, I think this, Mac and I joked that this probably was somewhat, when you think about the universe shining, smiling down on you, I feel like if anything was designed, COVID was perfectly designed for us in terms of our business model. It makes sense, and it allows us now to have conversations with potential clients about, we've been telling y'all about the need to go to leverage technology, about the need to streamline your processes, about the need to enable remote access. So all of it just makes sense. So it's very easy for us to talk about it, even though now businesses don't have money, right? So now they're struggling to pay for the services. But I think the business case has been made. So right now what we're doing is we're just supporting clients or potential customers in whatever way we can, and giving away lots of free services so that when they do have the finances and can afford to pay for our services, they'll be able to do so. But post-COVID, honestly, I think the universe or the world always finds a way to reset when things starts to go too offhand. And I think there's probably something greater at play. I don't understand it. But I think there's probably something greater at play that's forcing the whole world to have a seat.
To reset.
Relax.
Chill.
Reset.
Chill. I need to breathe. Yeah.
Think about your life. Think about what you're in time out a little. So think about what you've done and get yourself together. So, yeah.
That's really it for everyone. Do you have any questions before we dive into the first question?
No, the first question.
All right, so let's dive into the marriage relationship stuff. The first question we have is for Bola, and then we'll take it from there. And then the second hour, we'll jump at the question that we have for Mack. What's the question, baby? We have a question on the screen, by the way. We're going to get to that too, but let's just get to this one first.
Okay, so Bola, this one is for you.
Okay.
What do husbands crave so much, but wives don't often give?
Husbands with the S, plural.
What do husbands what?
Crave so much.
Crave so much for. Something they crave for, but they don't get it from their wives.
Like average.
Why is that a Bola question? I don't get it. Because I mean, how's she gonna know?
Well, that's it for women.
That's his question.
What do they think?
That's her question, right? That's her question. But we're gonna start with her, ladies first, and then we'll see if you have some contributions to that. But I think it's very important that ladies would know that, whatever that is, across board, not necessarily anybody in particular. What is it that husbands in general that you've heard they crave for, but wives have a hard time delivering, at least not in the beginning?
Ass? Can I say that? I don't know how it's to put it.
Really?
How am I gonna put it?
That's really what it is?
You could go right now. Please explain, elaborate. Ass, A-S-S, right? Not the animal.
What is the best terminology for me to use on this podcast?
It's perfect. It's adults.
Okay. Trying to figure out.
Have mercy.
What we talking about. I don't know. That would be what I'm thinking. And I'm gonna say this because I do think there's a mismatch of sex drive when couples get together. When couples get together when they're young. 1 second, let me tell my kids to go somewhere. Please take this downstairs. Yes, no, mommy's just. Anyways, yeah, I think there's a mismatch because a lot of times I think women, particularly in their 20s, are really just depending on who they are really just. I don't think you really peak in terms of your sex drive till you're in your late 20s, early 30s. And I think for men, it's probably in teenage years into 20s. So there's a mismatch at some point where men probably want it all the time, and women, especially when you're also you're having children, you're a career person, you're trying to keep the household. people tired. You know, women be tired. Anybody, I mean, it's exhausting, you know, and,
Wait,
and
you
I
were about
don't
to say,
think,
you're about to say anybody got time? Is that what you're about to say?
you know, especially, I mean, yeah, because you got too much going on, and you're just like, I mean, I swear to God, if you poke me one more time, there's gonna be an issue. You know what I mean? Like, you just trying to get some sleep, you know? I think when you're younger or in your 20s, you know, men more may crave it more. But I think as you settle into yourself, the children get older, your career becomes more sort of rote, you know, where you can do it without being so exhausted from it. Then you have more energy to devote to it, and I think naturally your sex drive also kicks into gear. So I think you're either at that point sort of matching each other more closely. Or yeah, so that's what I think. What do you think? Oh,
All
is
right.
that his
Do I
question?
get the
So can you hear me?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure you can hear me. Yes.
Now, Bola, do you think that sex should be scheduled?
No.
Why?
No, I
Why
mean,
not?
for me,
Why not?
should it be scheduled? You know what? Let me take that back because I think I answered that too quickly. Should it be scheduled? So everyone their own. Let me say, as long as you getting it in, whatever method works, I guess is what I should say.
Depends,
so let me not say that.
No,
I
when you
don't
said
think
no, when you said no, you mean for you. Why not? Why don't you?
Schedule, because sometimes if you schedule it for a time that you're not in the mood, like I don't want to be made to do something I'm not ready for, you know what I mean, or in the mood for. Now, of course, if you schedule it, then you can make the argument that naturally you'll prep yourself, you get in the mood and all of that. So maybe it does work for that. I mean, I tend to like spontaneity anyways. So, but I do think, now that I think about it, there probably is some sort of schedule anyways, in general, you know, so whether or not you're scheduling it formally or informally, there's probably some sort of rhythm that you all have established anyway. So I think I want to get
Mack's submission. Before I do that, we have a gentleman here who has been hanging out with us here. Mr. TK, welcome aboard. He says he takes just about 10 minutes for it. Now, let me warn you, Bola. You're going to get some pushbacks here, okay? Just prepare yourself. It takes just about 10 minutes for a good love making. The lady isn't realistic. What do you have to say about that?
I don't know what that means.
She's talking about you. You're not being realistic.
What's it talking about?
Realistic about what?
Yeah, which part are you? Which part am I commenting
for a good love making? You're not being realistic.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
No. A good love making takes about 10 minutes.
Hold on. His name is Chike.
Yeah, Chike.
I think his wife might be Lola. Wait, somebody who pinned that right there? Who's
no, not that one.
That's your question. Okay, I was about to say, okay, you pinned that, but so who asked that question? Because I think that a girl who asked that question?
Right above that, you can see that.
No, I'm saying TK is the one who said it's 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, it takes about 10
but
minutes.
But who asked the husband? Right. But there is something you pinned. Is there someone who asked that question?
No, we're gonna get to that later.
I know. Who asked the question?
Oh, they're saying who asked the question?
The question that is pinned?
Yes. That would pick that up from the DMs.
I know. I'm just wondering if that's TK's wife.
No, that's not TK's question. No.
Because he said 10 minutes. I'm assuming TK's wife probably asked that question.
Oh, okay. Well, possibly. I just pinged TK's question. You see that?
Okay.
All right.
So 10 minutes for a good love making. I mean, that's subjective. If your wife enjoys 10 minutes, I mean, God bless her. You know, that's good. It's good for her. So you may be right.
True.
I think for me, I probably need a little more than 10 minutes. You know what I mean? So, personally speaking, it's a whole process. I mean, let's just be honest. For me, it's a whole process. It's not, it's a whole process. It's not 10 minutes. So,
all right,
let me
get to Mack. Just keep in mind that the question was, your answer to my question was sex, essentially. You said ass, but you mean sex. It's something that men crave for a lot, but wives often have a hard time delivering on that, right? Because of the reasons you just given, right? So, Mack, what's your submission, man?
My submission is that Bola completely forgot that we went to a boot camp where they outlined what men need and what women don't know that men need. And I mean, personally, I feel like if the issue is sex, I think there's an attraction issue there personally. I mean, but I may be wrong. I'm not in every relationship, but if you're not getting as much, I mean, there are times when you're not going to want it, but when each person is not going to want it. But if there's no attraction, that's when you're not going to get as much sex as you need to get. That's my personal opinion on it. I'm not an expert. I haven't done any studies on it. Mm-hmm. But what I think is actually what men need that women don't understand is, I'm trying to find a word to say that is not long-winded, but I can't think of something, so I'm just gonna describe it. It's just more like they need to understand. A lot of times when you are bickering about something, that's like bickering about something. It comes across as.
Sorry, repeat that. They need to feel what?
Like okay, so a lot of times women, they have some issues with what men are doing. And so what they do is when they try to get something across, they come in and they pester, they bicker, or even they come in and well-intentioned, they try to talk. But a lot of times that men, because I feel like society puts the burden of fixing, of providing, of doing everything on our shoulders, every time, there is a complaint, it's like you've done something wrong. And so I think it's the recognition that, one of the ways that you address situations, not necessarily always like bickering about it. There are ways that you can, and I don't know what's the short way to say that, but like, I think it's recognition of, for lack of a better word, like it's the shame that's associated with feeling like you failed, based on something that the way that the woman is talking about a certain situation. That's what I think it is. Like when there's a recognition of that, then I think is a different approach. And I don't know if there's a shorter way of saying that.
Right.
Well, maybe lack of appreciation.
Yeah, is it appreciation? In broader terms,
maybe,
in broader terms,
maybe,
right?
maybe
not necessarily a thank you, but some kind of appreciation that.
I think if we leave it to appreciation, it's going to be too narrow, because I think there could be appreciation, right? There could be appreciation. I think it's just that, I just don't know how to say it. It's because you may appreciate the things that they do, and you do, and you may even say it repeatedly. Like you may even talk about it repeatedly, how much you appreciate. But it's the things that it's just a way of recognizing the things that aren't being done well, the way of communicating, right. How to change it.
So sometimes, let me expand on it a little bit. So sometimes it comes off as an attack, as opposed to pointing something out like, oh yeah, we needed this done. Obviously, we're best friends, so we may not always frame it that way. I may come off as an attack because you're my best friend sometimes. Maybe I'm teasing you, pulling your leg a little bit. But somewhere in between that, it almost feels like it gets lost and you're coming off a bit too strong. You sound like you're attacking me. Like you're not respecting the fact that I just didn't leave that just like that.
Right.
There's a reason. Is that what you're saying? Is that better?
Right. So we had a situation in our marriage where we were going through some things, and then I was doing my best to try to make things better. And I got this book. It's called How to Fix Your Marriage Without Talking About It. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when I got that book for Bola, she was like, what the hell? That's what I want to talk, and she didn't get the concept.
I'm looking at that notes right
now. It's by Stephen Stonesme, and it happens to be the same person who we went to his boot camp, and she wouldn't actually pick up the book, but we went to his boot camp and he explained a little bit more.
Right.
And it's the same kind of thing that I think you have in one of the concepts that you talk about, where, it's like you can't go to bed angry, because the idea is this constant conversation, this constant talk that people think has to happen is not necessarily going to fix anything. It just brings things back up. Like you feel like you're being attacked. Right. So it like what you do a lot of the times is recognize that there is this dynamic that he talks about called the fear shame dynamic. On the women's side is fear, on the man's side is shame, and you don't know when you jump into that loop. And so if you come in and try to continue to talk about it in that way, you're never going to get out of it, because he's going to feel attacked, then you're going to feel attacked, and then you're in that circle.
Right.
So so really a lot of times you got to recognize, all right, here's something that I'm doing in a way that's impacting you. And so I don't know exactly what it is, but I empathize, and then you speak in that way. And when you do that, you disarm the person, because if they truly love you, they're trying to change as well.
Right.
So when you disarm them, you know what I'm saying? When you disarm them, they can more readily see what the heck they did wrong. And then that's when they go and fix it. But when you come in and you're like, let's talk, you just, and this guy's like, what the heck? Like, I know in my mind, I was trying to do my best. So when you come in and you're attacking me like that, now I'm upset. Now I'm going to get offensive.
You have to defend yourself. Now you naturally,
exactly.
knee-jerk reaction, you have to defend once you feel attacked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the reason. One of the reasons why I came up with that question is because of this conversation. If it was that simple, right, then it should be as simple as give sex and happy. And if it was as simple as women just want money, it should be as simple as give them money and go away, right? But it's obviously not that simple for a lot of people. So there's deeper conversations to what's the right way to say that, to be had, right? Now you mentioned something about attraction, and attraction is such a big part of what we cover, because I believe that every problems in relationship kind of stems from pride, ego, this communication thing. Communication is kind of like on the surface, but at the underlying reasons why you have communication issues is nobody wants to back down or calm down to see what the other person is coming from, right?
Right.
And I always beat the men up on the head, like, listen, you're the leader. You're going to have to do that first. If no one is willing to do it, you have to do it first, right? Mm-hmm. So, but attraction is a big part of that. And I know you were kind of like backing down a little bit on the attraction. That no, it's attraction. If somebody is attracted to you, like initially when we first met, right, it was easier because we didn't know each other, right? We were willing to give into each other, right? But it comes down to that. If you have attraction, or if your attraction is going lower, then you're gonna smell attack a lot more faster. You're gonna get defensive a lot more faster. You kind of like give a lot of you cut a lot more slacks when you're not defensive. When you didn't get to the space where you start taking each other for granted, right? So I definitely think that. But to round it up, where I was driving at, right, to really help Mack's point. Before I do that, what do you think? What will be your answer on what you think men want, crave so much, but women always have a hard time?
I feel like most men, when they get married, they don't know how to transition from a single guy to a married man. So they basically want to live their life the same way they've been living their life. I want to hang out with my boys. I have work. I pay the bills. They do all that, stuff. And they want sex whenever they want it. They don't understand why a woman can't even have sex sometimes. They don't understand that you're too tired sometimes. It's not like you don't want it, but you're exhausted. So some of them don't even help with chores. Some of them don't even, it's like sometimes women, we get lost. We don't have a voice in our marriage. Any small thing we say becomes an attack. Oh, how dare you question me like that? Blah, blah, blah.
So not to cut you off, babe. The next question is what you're answering already.
Okay, so I feel like
you should tell us what you think men crave so much.
Okay, men
and women having a hard time to give.
Sorry, I can't.
Not everything we're doing wrong as men.
Sorry, okay, I'm sorry. So that's one of it, right? Telling you what you're doing wrong as a man. Men don't want that, obviously. Men want they want lots of respect. They want to be appreciated. They want words of affirmation. A lot of men, honestly, we think women are the only ones that enjoy the compliments. Men love the attention So they want that from their spouse. They want us to be there for them. They also, I feel like sometimes men kind of feel like we are their mothers, and like they tend to compare us somehow. But yes, I just feel like it's sex is the appreciation, and don't nag me. I hear that a lot. Men don't like to be nagged. What else?
Okay, so sex is not on that list at all.
I said sex. Lots of sex. They want the stripper moves, and you can't get it. You can't. It's impossible.
They want a freak in the sheets and hey, what is it called?
A lady in the streets
and a freak in the streets.
A lady in the bed. A lady in the streets.
Right, a freak in bed.
A freak in the bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're getting there now. Where my mind was when I came up with that question was really for men, from a woman's standpoint, that I think women should know is really the appreciation thing. That's where my mind was. The appreciation thing, the word of affirmation, like she said. You know, I can be macho. You know, I can learn this stuff. I can go to the boot camps and learn to be macho. And, you know, I don't need that. I don't need to be needy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a woman to make me feel better. I can learn all those things. But one thing I know is that every time she manages to get to the point that she appreciates something, it still feels good. Right? So if it still feels good, if there was no vacuum there, there's nothing to feel. If it still feels good, that means, you know, there was a little something space there that could take in some appreciation, right? And if you do that enough times, a man would do his part in terms of seduction, in terms of seducing, not seduction sexually all the time. I'm saying going all out to make you feel good, you know, to do things that will also make you feel good, and then you can go back and forth on making each other feel good, as opposed to go back and forth on defending yourself when it feels like an attack.
Right.
You know? So this whole thing is about energy, it's about transferring energy back and forth between each other. And that vacuum thing, there's no such thing as vacuum. The ideal mind is the devil's playground, you know. And if you are not giving some kind of appreciation in that sense, or at least the energy of, it doesn't have to be words, like we were saying earlier, right? It's just the energy that you know that I didn't intentionally not do these chores. Now, there are people that don't do the chores. They need to be reminded, right? But I'm talking about, but there's a few, but, you know, there's you know, but those that do something sometimes, and we all get complacent sometimes, you know.
Yes.
You know, if you just know that at the back of your mind, as we're human beings, all of us, we get complacent sometimes. You know, you just say, hey, babe, if you don't mind, I'm reminding you for the third time. You see, it is the energy. It's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. And I think a lot of people are not willing to admit it. I'm willing to admit it that, listen, I know I'm supposed to be the man. I'm supposed to lead. And I can pretend like I don't have feelings, like I'm just this psychotic person that don't have feelings. I don't.
Right.
But trust me, it still feels good when you know that somebody is looking out for you from an emotional standpoint. And I think she's right when she said earlier that that we still, how did you say that, we still want the emotional thing, the way you said it, you know, and that we can still receive that as men. It's like we can admit we want the compliments and we want attention. We don't necessarily need to yell around the house that I want attention, because neediness is not attractive. But just know that.
But I think it goes both ways.
It's both ways.
I think it goes both ways.
And
I think this is where couples struggle, because it's almost as if, for me, from my perspective, you know, a man is particular about his ego, you know, enter his ego, talk to me a certain way, don't remind me about too many things. And that's great if you're willing to take initiative. I don't have to talk to you about nothing. Right. You understand the trash needs to be taken out. You understand some things need to be done in the house. You don't want somebody reminding you, then do it. You know what I mean? But you can't not do anything and then expect somebody to not remind you. Like, it's just ultimately what you're looking for is what Lola was saying, a mom. You want to just sit around, do nothing, and people still adoring you, like, you know what, you the man, you doing it right now. That's just not realistic. You either doing it or you're not. I mean, if you're doing it, you're gonna get you doing it. You know what I mean? That, and I think a lot of people, particularly boys, and that's why it's important to raise our boys well. A lot of people want something for nothing. You want the adoration. You want people to follow you. You want whatever, but you're not willing to put in the work. Leadership is not, I stand up here and I just need you to fall in line and be, you know, and respect me or whatever. Leadership is actually action. Like you lead, you demonstrate leadership through your action by going first, by sacrificing and everything. And as a result, people fall in line and tell you you're doing it. But I think a lot of people, a lot of men are so focused on, no, I just need you to adore me all day long. And I'm still sitting here trying to chill. I'm not trying to be bothered. And, you know, the woman is getting frustrated. You don't want to be reminded because you said you nagging. You got to give. Like, there's got to be a give somewhere. You can't, ain't nothing, you can't get something for nothing. You've got to give. And that's really what people need to understand. If you want adoration, you got to earn it. If you don't want to be nagged, you got to earn it. If you want people to follow you, you got to earn it. Like all of that, you got to give something for it.
Yes.
All right, Marcus.
Yep.
Yeah, you have anything?
What my answer?
Add on to that.
Oh, is respect to what she said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, definitely. For me, you know, the question I thought we were answering is how the approach is, not necessarily what has to be done, right? So, like you said, I think you said it yourself. It's like how you approach, and that's what I was talking about. Like the need to have a conversation. You're doing wrong. You're doing wrong. You're doing wrong. Is not going to get it done. Okay, you may be like, yeah, you need to lead. You need to lead. But you know, if you come in and say you need to lead, we're gonna have a problem. Okay, so don't come over here telling me I need to lead because I'm leading. God damn it. All right. So that's exactly what you're gonna hear back. But the point is.
But
the point is,
you
know, that's my point is that it's about the approach. Like if you want to actually get results, then it's about the approach. It's the same way that if, you know, I don't know exactly. Personally, I don't need much from Bola. Bola gives me everything I need, right? But that said, if I did have something that I needed and I approached it in a way that was counterproductive, I probably wouldn't get her to do it either. Yes. So I have to think about exactly what it is. Like, so if I want something, I already know I got to go and do something, right? Like I got to go and give her something because I know I want it. I'm not going to go and say, hey, I need this and you haven't done and you haven't done and you haven't done. She's not going to do it. So I already know what I have to do. I probably have to go butter her up and all that good stuff because I know how it's going to work. So that's the same concept back. It's not about whether or not you need to do. It's about how it's approached. And so that's my point. Yes, you do have, I mean, for the guys who are looking for adoration, you know, without doing anything, that's absolutely right. But, you know, I would hope that if the guy is that much of a bum, then what does that make you for being with him? So, you know what I'm saying? He must be good enough for you to be with him. So therefore, let's work together and, you know, get to perfection or pursuit of perfection.
Yes.
So,
all right.
That's how I feel.
I have a question before we move on. How many times a week do you think is good for a couple to have sex?
I mean, it's honestly what works for you. I can't answer that because everybody's different, right? I mean, some people, I've heard of people who do it every single night. So and I'm like, no, I need to miss it.
If what works for you is once every 4 months, there are many couples like that.
Yeah.
Would you?
That's weird.
But
every night is also weird.
You've been in this for 22 years. You've been in this for 22 years. Married for around 14 years.
12 years.
12 years, right? So if somebody comes to you, somebody that looks up to you and say, we just do it, you know, we have no problems with it. We just do it once every 4 months. Yeah, and they're not sick or anything like that, right? You're just gonna be like, kudos.
Good.
No, but if that works,
more power to you.
Honestly, though, we have to understand that sex is not the end all be all. I mean, there are different ways for you to have intimacy beyond sex. There may be something, because sex is a physical part of connecting, intimacy, but you may be able to find it in other ways beyond, the actual smashing. But I wonder if, like, there may be something, and you said, they're not sick, but there may be some other things going on there. Maybe both of their libidos.
So,
no, but maybe their libidos are not as where it should be, and they're perfectly, like, the new baseline for them is once every four months, and they're not, and neither of them feel unfulfilled, right? Like, it could be that. I do think it's pretty. First of all, we have to understand this culture is very taxing on people emotionally. Like, people are just tired. People are tired. So I get it. I'm not saying you should go 4 months without sex, but I'm just saying it's people are constantly running every day. By the time you are trying to get some sleep, you're just trying to get some sleep. Like, you're not trying to be bothered. Both men are tired. People are depressed. People have mental issues. People have trouble connecting. People have trouble unwinding. People have addiction. Like, it's a lot going on. So I think
growing apart.
So
some people are growing apart. Yeah. So there's a lot to it. And I think, yes, you should always be in search of keeping the connection as tight and as close as possible. Because I think if you work on the intimacy, which is the trust, and if you work on it outside the bedroom, it's naturally going to follow you into the bedroom,
Yes.
I think. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So if things are good and you're connecting and you looking at him like, oh, you just did that, what a surprise, and all this other stuff, naturally, you're going to be ready by the time it's time to get ready. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that could also be thought about that as well.
So that said, it is partly chemical though. Like, there is, if we're going to put in a plug for one of your peoples, this woman who that sells like tea, to increase the libido, because after marriage she just wasn't feeling it. Yeah. So she wasn't feeling it. So I don't know necessarily. Like, I can tell you, as a freaking 40-year-old, I am not as, like, ready to go as I was when I was 20 when we first met. So there's there's some elements of, like, just physical, chemical type things that's going on there. But
it could also
there are some people who are just not into it.
It could also be what Bola was just saying. The more you get to know yourself, you find a lot more meaning outside of the physical act of sex. That's just a given, right? And you do it only because it has meaning and because there's a certain level of trust, like you put it, right? There's a certain level of, you're doing it because it's such a beautiful thing to do with the person that you love. You're more centered as a human being than when you're just almost just rushing because I got to get that one, right? It's a little different, right? So it could be that. But with that being said, let's just be honest with ourselves, right? We're dealing with two people at any point in time, right? Two people in one, right? I get that. But these all thing that you said in the beginning, Bola, where you said there's a misbalance, a mismatch, right? Between people's sex drive. That's a real issue.
That's a real thing.
While you're feeling like, hey, that's not always intimate, the other one's like, I got blue balls. Right? That's real life issues that people go through. And unless both of you subscribe to that same belief system and you're aligned in that sense, which is not something you say in words, right? It's usually something that you guys are just there. You guys are, you have that equilibrium, right? And it's not so much you say in words. You just kind of know each other's that's the word I'm looking for. But you know each other's vibes, basically, and you found it, right? But when people are going through crisis, which is often the situation, like this question here, husband has erection problems. He's also broke. I ended up sleeping with an ex 2 years ago. What do I do? Right?
I mean, it was 2 years ago. Do you still want to sleep with him again?
Well, he's still saying he's frustrated. She's frustrated still.
Husband has had this erection problem for 4 years.
For 4 years.
And he doesn't want any help. So,
he doesn't want help.
Okay.
What do you do in that situation?
I mean, if he doesn't want any
As
help,
a woman.
no. Oh, no, but can I just say before you answer though?
Yes.
If he doesn't want any help, from my perspective, the issue is not with him. It's with or it's not
with her.
With her, like it's with her. He doesn't really want to be with her because what kind of a man doesn't want any help?
Well,
I mean,
ego.
I could see there would be some ego thing there.
It's a bigger ego problem. I would secretly go get help more than saying I'm not gonna get help. Are you kidding me? Like every time she wants to go, you can't get it up. That's not a bigger ego issue.
No, but he's probably not admitting to her.
He's not admitting to her, so that's supposed.
Yeah, he's probably saying, "I'm not into it. I'm not feeling it." Like he may even feel more comfortable making it her issue. I'm not attracted to you. You gain weight, all that stuff. You know, as opposed to, in his mind, admit to himself that it's him. So
if he's going for 4 years, yes. If it's going for 4 years, you're gonna have to do something at some point.
I think she needs to hire a private investigator and see where he's going when he says he's at work, because he's coming home tired. That's what it is.
I think my response is honestly, I have a very different mindset when it comes to marriage, commitment, what I want out of it, I just don't think it's fair I don't think it's fair for you to hold me to some sort of commitment that I've made to you when you're not willing to live up to your end of the bargain. I think if we care about each other's feelings and you understand that I'm trying to have sex and that's a need that I have, but you are too whatever. I mean, I'm not saying she should go out and cheat with an ex-boyfriend, because quite frankly, I probably would be more open. I probably would be like, you know what? It looks like we're not getting anywhere here. I may need to go get my needs taken care of somewhere else. So maybe we should talk about it. You know what I mean? But I think, I commend her for going 4 years without having said that. That's a superwoman, is all I can say. You know what I mean? She has tried. Is all I can say. She has tried. And I think I don't blame her for nothing. I think the topic of ego, just take it like that, especially in Nigerians, just bad there or whatever, it's okay. Whatever we see. I'm not here for that. We're too grown. I'm tired. No, I don't. I think, first of all, we need to understand it's not do or die. You know what I mean? I'm in this relationship because I want to. If it no longer works for me or you, we need to figure out a situation. Is what personally, I don't subscribe to being unhappy for what, So I think if your man or your partner cannot meet you at that level, meaning, part of being married is understanding we're going to be there for each other physically, emotionally, all of that, and sexually. And if something is not right, yes, I can support you as a wife or vice versa, and we can try to figure it out because it's important for a marriage. But if you've just single-handedly decided, I'm not trying to fix it or whatever, at this one, that means you are okay with me figuring out my situation. So, yeah.
So let me ask about this too, because this is a topic that, we don't include. Because whenever we say marriage, we do not include like polyamorous relationships. So like more than one. Like obviously.
What is that?
So polygamy, right? Polygamy is the actual you have more than one person, more than two people involved in the marriage.
Right.
In a marriage.
Yes.
Polyamory is basically just a love and probably cohabitation, but just the recognized and accepted love, sexual or otherwise, between more than two people.
More than two partners?
So, more than two partners.
Okay.
So my question, because this has come up, not only because you talked about the blue balls, but in the case of this dude who is not getting it up and she wants to go and get somebody else, if it is more than just sex, and it is real love, and she needs to have certain whether it's sexual or otherwise, certain other needs and needs met, is it okay for a couple to say, let's open it up, let's bring other people in there?
Right. So the ones that are bringing other people in, well, if you look at the first sentence, it's erection problems, meaning they've encountered trying to do it and it's not coming up. That's what that means, right? So if that's the case, like you said, it could be tired, right? But if they're going for 4 years, right? This actually came from the Nigerian older folks. Okay?
In Nigeria.
The problem with these people, there's also a cultural thing to it. It's, I see that there's a lot of core issues across the world. It doesn't matter, but this one, there's certain egos that come with certain age, and they're just not willing to accept certain things. At least, like you said, not in front of the wife. In fact, there will be elders in the society that will advise against admitting to something like that. They say, let her do whatever she wants to do. They will say that, no, never admit that, right? So let's acknowledge that first, the cultural thing there, right? But let's just talk about this woman who is saying, what do I do? That's the person we need to address. As a woman, her introducing another person, society does not encourage that. That she should be the one to introduce a person.
She is a hoe. What?
Right? It's probably more acceptable for guys to introduce something like that.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So, right. And it's not men that will call her a hoe. It's other women that will call her a hoe first.
And the men too.
For introducing something like that.
The men definitely, yeah.
No, of course. You see what I'm saying? But I'm talking about the judgmental part of it.
She can't even talk about it. Think about it. She can't even complain about this to her family, because they'll be like, what do you need that for? Is it taking care of your children? That's fine.
Yeah.
Just stay there because of your kids. Like, it's crazy.
But do you think still, is that the older generation, or do you think even still people would say, what's the big deal?
It's a lot easier on the younger generation, like our age downwards. We are just naturally, we're a little bit more enlightened on the psychological aspect of this whole thing, right? So we're not just now I'm going to sit down. So we don't do that, right? We're also trying to understand, because it's not just relationships and marriage; it's your workplace. It's everything. You got to understand upstairs, right?
I would say
so we're a little bit more enlightened in that.
I feel like men on the side of the world, yes, but some men in Africa, because I still know someone who's been in a marriage for like 14 years and has only had sex 10 times. Excuse me. This is young people like
wait, 10 times?
Age.
No, was that?
Wow.
People are going through a lot. They're just not speaking out because you're not even encouraged to talk about these things. As a woman, if you talk about these things, you're a hoe. Like, what do you want that for? If you go look at the vibrator sales right now, African women are one of the top buyers.
Wow, interesting.
Wait, slow down.
I can see that.
You can see that, right?
I can see that. Because African men is like, hey, I'm trying to get off. I don't know what you good? Okay, I don't know. It's done. But yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about the culture issues. It is what it is. Like,
no, it is what it is.
You can't change society.
What I would say is that there's sexless marriage everywhere in the world. They exist. 20% of marriages are sexless for variety.
Like completely sexless.
Like sexless.
Completely.
Like they got comfortable with it. It was probably a problem at the beginning, but they became roommates. Some people, children start going to college, and the people get older too. You just kind of like accept it as norm. And every once in a while, when they stumble into it, it's a very awkward situation, So
interesting.
So that's everywhere in the 15 to 20%.
They stumble into it.
Was that
interesting?
It's like they stumble into it.
If they stumble into it, stumbling into it in sense of they're trying to, but it's awkward because the longer you stay away from that, that's one of the reasons why I don't recommend the idea of the open-ended. It depends on your marriage. No, that's too open-ended.
That's why
if you're not doing it, that was why she asked.
Should you schedule sex? Because we were watching this couple and they were talking about they have to have sex every 48 hours. They make it like it has to be deliberate. You look forward to it. You prepare yourself.
It's not necessarily a priority. It's more or less, even if we missed it, it's at the back of your mind that
you
that
gotta
time.
get on it.
So, like you said earlier, that you may not be in the mood. It's true. All right. That was that 1 hour.
So they only give you like an hour or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So as I was saying, so if the 48 hours thing, right? It's not like if somebody say they're tired or other aspects of life is happening, right? But it stays at the back of your mind. That's the whole point of that. But you know, when you tell somebody, when one person or both couples get to a place where they say, you know, it's just 3 months, it's every 2 months, like the more, this is attraction issues at the end of the day, and that's mental. That's very spiritual too. If the longer you go, the more disconnected you stay, right? Now, if there's other like medical related issues or anything like that, obviously that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Even at that, you will still seek the help of a professional to help you guys figure out how to live life. Because at the end of the day, it's not just you and your couple that lives in this world. There are other people. There's attraction. There are people you find attractive. You have to go to work. There's other things going on. And that's the one little thing. I call it little because Bola called it little earlier, right? That separates this relationship from other types of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can have friends.
No, that's funny. That separates this relationship.
Which relationship? Oh, you're 100. Okay. Okay, the type.
I'm saying that with respect to the fact that it's also very spiritual. Okay? It's a spiritual act. Yes, it's physical, but it starts long before you actually engage each other physically. That tells you it's not just the physical. You don't just jump on people. Like, there's a lot of women that actually complain that men try to do that. Like, you know, all day long, I've been tired and you just jump on me. That's because it starts long before it actually happens. So if you consider the fact that, let's not separate sex as this physical and spiritual thing. You're in a marriage. It's spiritual by default. The longer you stay away from it, the more disconnected you guys are. The more awkward it will be when you try to come back to it again. So it makes it even harder. You see what I'm saying? So the 48 hours thing is not a schedule. It's not exactly a schedule. It's a, hey, let's not go too long. It's let's be deliberate about our sexual life, or, you know, that's how they say that, right? Let's be a little bit more deliberate without being deliberate, because I understand Bola earlier also said, you know, she liked the spontaneity of it, right?
I'm sure everyone likes that.
Everyone. You know. It's not just women either. Men also like the fact that it's, you know, it has to be spontaneous. It can't just be, the schedule thing is a turn off when you use the word schedule.
Yeah. But when you have
that, it's listen, personally, I actually like it when Bola's like, I'm not into it, because now we're back to like, now I got to get you into it. So the whole, like, if she's not feeling it now, it's like, okay, that's even better. Like, if I feel like I've got to go get in the mood, even if I'm not, like, where is the chase? Like, you know, nothing take, you know what I'm saying? That's a mental piece of it as well. Like, so if there is no more chase, then I'm not that into it anyways. Anyway, right. So that's why for me it would not work for scheduling. And I, like, one of the things as I grew older, I understand that more and more that my perspective is not necessarily the all-encompassing perspective. So no, it's not universal, exactly. So I give you know, allowance to anybody else who has things differently. But my feeling, but that said, the way that I think about scheduling it, because it reminds me, is like, I have a problem being reminded to begin with. Like, I don't need to be reminded because I want it. Like, there are times when I just want it, and so I don't need to schedule it like to want it, because I've already, like, when I'm feeling like I want it, and then I'm gonna go and try to get it. Right. So that's how I look at it. So
yeah.
Well,
but I do see the
guys
point.
Don't try to get it anymore. They don't do the chasing anymore.
Yeah.
They just get tired and they're like, you say no all the time. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Mack said something earlier about that. That's really an attraction issue. That's the man that's not attracted. But also, if you turn that in mind long enough, like I was saying earlier, it's not going to want that rejection. It's a human being like everybody else.
We'll just get one outside.
Yeah.
You know, but that only happens if it's too long. If it's too long, you know. So that's that. So now
I have another question. Okay, so I have this one. I actually know this person well. A friend that got married.
Hope it's not us. Is it a friend?
It could be us if it's all good.
All them, right?
A friend that got married last year, but got married to a virgin. But every time he tries to touch her, she's scared. She doesn't want to have
it probably
sex.
Hurts.
Yes, but she won't even try at all. Like, they
wait. So have they had sex at all?
It's been a year. They've not had had sex at all.
Wait. Hold on.
I think that calls for an annulment.
So too.
Hold on. Wait. They got.
No.
Yeah, I've seen a couple. I've seen a few episodes.
Oh, we didn't finish it. We started it.
We've seen
We
a few
didn't finish
episodes.
it. That was the whole. They got a virgin. They do have a virgin in the crop.
They do.
So wait. So you mean to tell me she was a virgin? They got married last year, and they've had sex maybe once or twice.
Right.
They've never had sex.
Whoa!
That's just crazy.
They've never had sex. Well, they not.
Why the heck is he still like a year? He's got a chick on the side though, right?
But she's a virgin. So let's start from there. She's a virgin, right? But
Are they trying to have kids?
They want to have kids.
It's
but she
bigger
said
than that.
she's not ready.
How old is she?
How old is she? She's actually younger than him, like 5 years. So
No,
the guy's my age.
Oh yeah,
So
so like 30, like early 30s.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why they got married. Maybe it wasn't arranged marriage. Because why was it arranged?
But what are you trying to
No,
say?
she wanted to get married to get married.
No attraction.
I think some women just want to get married.
What are you trying to say? So a woman
I'm just saying
who's a
she's
virgin
not that
does not
into it.
deserve to get married?
No, I'm just saying that
But
if she no, once again we're gonna go back to the contract. let's focus on the contract. You're not just gonna get married just for the sake of getting married and not complete the rest of the contract. That doesn't make any sense, So from my perspective, I mean, to me, I think if she's not into him or she's not into it, I just feel like we're too grown. We're too grown to be beating around bushes. You know what I mean? If she's really not into, okay, it could be several things. If it hurts, y'all can figure out.
Yeah, did they attempt? Because they attempted and she was like, "No, this ain't gonna work."
Yes, like she won't even try.
Wait, she won't even try.
You see,
okay, she's not into it.
She's definitely.
Thing, right?
But I don't know how she's gonna have kids though.
Not only is she not into him, she probably got a real whoever she's into on the side. Let's just be honest.
Wow.
I think she probably got somebody else on the side.
No. I don't think so. It's not necessarily true. You need to finish watching Married.
I mean, let's ask the friend here. Okay, because she over here smiling in the back.
Yeah, bring her on.
The friend who knows this girl.
Yeah. Like Lola, does she have somebody else on the
Does
side?
she have somebody else on
I don't know.
About you.
I know the guy.
She knows the guy.
Oh, she knows the guy. Okay.
From my perspective, I mean, I'm a woman. It may hurt a little bit, but you also have desires. So if your desires are not overtaking the pain, she probably is getting her desires quenched elsewhere, and she is not so into him to put herself
but
through
she's a
whatever
virgin.
he's
She
trying to
doesn't
put
know
her
what
through.
she doesn't know. So there may not be any.
She's not a virgin. Is my point. She's not a virgin. That's my point. She's not a virgin.
I mean,
I'm saying that's the excuse.
Okay, got that.
I mean, at some point, the fingers aren't enough.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
She's not a virgin.
I mean, because at some point, the fingers aren't enough. And so, like, if it's because it hurts, I mean, I'm assuming she's done something. Like, who hasn't done anything?
And the cuddling, but when it comes to the actual, thing, she's scared.
If we know anything psychologically, right? If there is no thirst, there's nothing to quench. She doesn't have the thirst. She's never done it before. There's no thirst to quench. That's number one.
That's not true. There are plenty of even before.
Are you kidding me? Okay, listen. We are sexual beings.
Yeah.
Babies are getting erections. Babies are like playing with themselves.
I was gonna get right.
Okay, baby girls are playing with themselves. You don't need to have tried it to want it.
I was gonna get right back to it though. I was gonna get right back to that part, right? Now, in terms of how we wanted it, right? If you marry a virgin, you are definitely going to be required of a little bit more patience than a normal situation. That's
not a year. Maybe 2 days. Not a year.
Maybe not.
Not
I'm
a
just
year.
saying you will be. But that 1 month that you think is supposed to be, if you're not doing it right, can become 5 years.
No, it's
okay.
1 year.
But
I'm just saying. Listen, wait, let me finish. Okay. if let's say the number that you think, length of time you think they should be able to get it done is 1 month, right? If
I didn't say 1 month. I said 2 days.
2 days, right? Let's say it's 2 days, right?
You say 1 month.
If there's too much awkward energy in them trying to do that, and like you said earlier, if the attraction is not high enough, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna create
That's
awkward energy, and it will take longer and longer, and somebody has to pull the plug. Somebody will have to be lead in pulling the plug and say, we can't do this. You can't go on like that for life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can understand why it can go from 2 days to 1 year, 2 years, if no one is willing to step up and say, we got to pull the plug. Let's talk to the person who knows the person.
Oh, he said pull the plug. Pull the plug. Like, we're done.
How did it become 1 year?
How did it become?
Oh, yeah, you definitely got to pull.
And it's a man. And you know the man got a chick on the side as well, then. So you know he got no.
He said he didn't have a choice but to get a chick on the side because he has goals. Like
yeah.
He's not even trying at all. But I told him it's time to have a conversation because what about children? If she doesn't want to have sex with you, you guys are not gonna have children the normal way. No, he wants his own kids. Then maybe it's time to pull the plug and say, you know what?
Yeah.
This is not good for me. I want to move on with my life.
When try to finish watching Married at First Sight, and you will see what I'm talking about.
Okay.
It was taken.
No, but there's a different situation there. They were strangers. Now, no, is that the same case?
Oh,
they were strangers.
That part.
Yeah.
That part.
So I mean, because from my perspective, this is no different than not being married to a girl who's a virgin. Like at first, she's not going to just hand it over.
True.
You know what I'm saying? That you gotta work it. And then once you've worked it, at some point she's gonna want to do something. Right. Where is this? Why is this not happening? Yeah. So
I think it's attraction issues. I don't know.
It's definitely attractions. She probably got somebody else on the side. More or less, they need to get a divorce. They probably need to get a divorce.
Let's take the rest of the 45 minutes into Mack's question. So, Mack's, what is it that wives want? They crave so much, but often husbands, unless they've gone through some boot camps, have a hard time delivering. It could be a few things. It doesn't have to be one thing. But give us the first on your mind.
I think I want to say, for a short answer, I want to say appreciation, but I think like I think it's
you don't have to make it personal.
No, I mean I don't know. That's if it was personal, then I would just start rattling. Yeah,
you just
so
go in
right
now. You want
yeah, I mean.
No, I'm not saying no. You could. I thought maybe you were struggling because you couldn't find a personal.
No, I'm just trying to make it so that I'm not. Actually, I'm trying to make it so that it's not personal. I'm trying to make it so that it's broad enough to generic enough to encompass what all most women need.
Spot there because people can relate more when it's almost personal. So you got to find a sweet spot between not too broad and not personal because we want people to be able to relate.
What do you think I want? What do you think I want?
Yes.
That you're not giving to me.
That you struggle often. You find yourself, you have to remind yourself from time to time to deliver on that.
I mean, so again, I mean, the thing is, I feel like it's about, for each person, I think it's about how you respond to their needs and understanding and, but, manifested in different ways. So for us, it's like feeling like, we're not meeting whatever standard it is. And for women, it's like understanding whatever fears, whatever concerns that they have, and meeting them in a way that addresses those. Like understanding.
But what are those fears? You don't have anything specific.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't want to get into something that most of our audience doesn't know, and that's why I don't want to get that specific. So we talk about fear and shame. All right, so we talk about fear. Like, so when they talk about fear and shame dynamic in the boot camp that we went through, like, so women have, for the most part, generally speaking, like fears that are their core vulnerability. So whether it's fear, physical fear, fear of being isolated because, if you're alone in the world, you can't make it. That's why a lot of times women are the ones who are reaching out. And men can tend to be alone. And then there's fear of security. So this is precisely why, they do a lot of shopping, and the things that they're doing around the house is really about security. And so for men, you know, we don't necessarily recognize that. That is not something that is a fear of ours. So, you know, for example, when we raise our voices in things, we really don't recognize how impactful it is to a woman who is like, yo, this person is much bigger than me. Or we don't recognize the need for, you know, for the shopping that they must do and all this other stuff, because it's like it talks about security, or the need to go out and socialize and connect and all these other things. And so when we don't respond in a way that, I guess, recognizes those truths,
So Matt,
then I think that's
one
what
of my
it is.
friends is here. His name is Lekon. He said, I came here for the
Hi,
GC.
Lekon.
Oh yeah. I know Lekon.
Let's hear the fear, Mack.
It's true. Go ahead and sell it. Which one? That's why I was looking at him like, let's just go ahead and make it personal. What is it? What you think I want that you're not delivering on, but I consistently remind you of? And not that I know myself, because, and maybe that's why you're struggling with it. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, I would say that you know, it is the kind of thing that, you know, it is based on security. It is like, okay, the desires of yours, for example, so when we talk about cleaning the house or all those other things, or these honey-do lists that women have, like for us, it's like, I could just chill, but they have all of these honey-do lists, and we're just thinking they're nagging, when in fact it is representative of a fear of security. Like, I need to make sure my house looks a certain way. It represents that I have. And so I have all of these things, and because I have that in my possession, it's a little bit, it's a buffer away from being out in the streets and having to fend for myself. Like, it's that mental representation of that.
So
Let
me
me
see if I can help. Let me see if I can help. So you did say security quite a few times, fear and security quite a few times. I think the way they say it, also they often say it, is they want to feel safe. Women want to feel safe. So if they don't feel safe, the way they express that can come off as nagging. And when they do express that, being able to turn your knee-jerk reaction to recognizing that that's a fear. You don't have to get defensive. You don't have to feel that as an attack. You don't just see that as a fear and quench the fear. Focus on quenching that fear. Make her feel safer. Is that what you're alluding to?
You did it perfectly. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
let's hear from Bola. Bola, what do you think about what he said? Is that on point?
I don't.
Could you go in a little bit more, maybe more specific, maybe?
Is it on point?
The problem with Bola trying to answer that is I do everything perfectly well. She couldn't even know how to answer that question. Isn't that right?
So it's hard for me to answer, because I feel like I'm in a very good place, and I say it all the time. In a good place, and I actually also feel a sense of ownership, you know, and accountability for my life, you know, and I think that could be as a result of the boot camp. I'm not sure, but not too many things sort of shakes me. You know, I feel like we were in a space maybe like 3-4 years ago when I had a lot of issues, and back then, if I were to think about it, it had to do with feeling heard. So I don't know if it's around safety per se. I felt like you cut me off a lot. You know, we had a lot of communication issues, and it was a lot about feeling heard. Like if I said, like I felt like we argued about the same things over and over.
So I messed up.
I would say,
so Bola, I messed up a little bit. Before you said that, I was supposed to say, so it doesn't seem like I'm just taking your words and saying that's what I thought. To be honest, in all honesty, that's the first thing that came to mind when I came up with that question. But it's not necessarily feeling heard. It's listening. I feel like listening to a woman is what a woman can really, they may not be able to say it in words like that, but it's just that one word. Listening is one. They're not missing communication, because oftentimes we kind of talk too much, actually. It's actually more the listening aspect of the communication.
Your wife in the back, like,
I saw her.
oh, that's right.
So that but it still aligns with the security thing, because if a woman if you're not listening to a woman, then she will put let's take it to the masculine feminine thing. She will have to become the masculine in that dynamics, and that's not the natural essence of a woman. That means she's trying to protect herself. That means she doesn't feel safe. If she finds herself trying to protect herself, that's too much masculine juice coming out of her, and that's not what she wants. That will make her lose respect for the man. And a woman that can't respect a man cannot love a man, right? So that's where I see that's going. But that's the first thing that comes to mind. But I want us to dig in a little deeper, because it's not just that one thing, right? It's not just, we've identified two things: a woman feeling safe, a woman feeling heard. From your perspective, Bola, okay, now you can tell us more. This is your opportunity to tell us what we're missing. We're still missing it. We're still struggling with it on a daily basis. What would you say? Forget Mack now.
What we're struggling with, like between the two of us?
No, just in general. Everybody women generally have a hard time trying to get their man to deliver.
I mean, yeah, I think it probably does still go back to feeling heard, and maybe it is listening, because I don't know, because you're a man, so maybe you understand just deep within you that you're not listening. But I think when I speak with Mack, I get the sense that he's listening, but maybe he's busy calculating a response. I don't know.
No, your phrase is a lot more accurate. It's about you feeling heard. If you don't feel heard, I could be listening all along.
Exactly. So for me, for me, it's definitely feeling heard. And I think a lot of men probably struggle with that for women, because they cheapen the needs and desires of women and discount it by saying, oh my God, there you go, nagging again. Or maybe they say, it's almost as if women's needs are not important. Oh, she just wants to go shopping. There she goes wanting to cook again. There she goes wanting to hang out with her friends.
What's the time that you want to cook? What you mean?
Different from women.
I don't get it.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's almost dismissed. Whereas a man is very serious about his ego. Don't come anywhere near this ego. It's gonna be a problem for you.
Yes.
So it's almost as if you understand what's important. Men understand what's important to them, and they hold it very sacred. But I don't know that they take enough time to understand what's important for women. And I feel like women, and that's why we nag all the time, because you're constantly trying to communicate what's important to you, to women, but it's almost as if it goes in one ear, out the other, you know? So I do agree. I think it's the feeling heard that probably is a huge struggle for women. And I feel like men almost feel like, if I'm having to acknowledge the validity of what you're saying, then I've got to, it's kind of like you were saying, now I've got to have to figure out a way to do something about it.
Okay, so let me quickly respond to that, and the reason why it's such a trouble with the two of these types of needs reconciling, from my perspective. Okay, so when Bola just said, you know what, you can't come near my ego, from like immediately with respect to a man and his ego, it's something that you're doing to that person and their feelings. And so it's like my core vulnerability being shame means that I do not, like, it's something that you're doing towards me. Her core vulnerability being fear, you know, whether it's security or whatever it is. And this is precisely why she has to communicate it, because she has that fear, but it then requires for the man to go do something. Like, like, for example, I can require nothing because I don't have any fear. I'm self-sufficient, I'm independent, whatever the case may be. All I need for you to do is not make me feel bad. Okay, which means all you have to do is not say anything. But if it's a fear of security, now I've got to go and do something, whether it's provide you with the income, whether it's like, okay, provide you with the physical security. I've got, like, if it's the home and all the things that I have to go, you are now requesting something of me. And so now what happens is, if I don't now do it, then you have to come and speak to that fear. So that you're trying to get me to understand that this fear here existing, and that's when you don't feel heard. Because I'm like, because the immediate thing I'm thinking is, here I go again, not getting something done. Here I go again, not getting something done. And that's why, you know, recognition that when you go in attempting to communicate your fear, the way that you do it is important, because that is going to be completely missed if you don't do it right. That person is, it's not because they don't want to satisfy that fear or address it. It's because when you come to them, you don't realize
it's
that
a trigger. If you do it,
you are
to be a trigger for your weakness.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't disagree with that. Okay, go ahead.
She's gonna go and tell us.
I feel like outside of the communication thing, the real problem with the communication thing is the effective communication. There is none. So a man is just talking and talking and talking, and you can't get a word in there. When you get a word in there, he feels attacked. I'm talking, I'm trying to talk to him, but he's being dismissive. He's not even listening or acknowledging what I'm saying. That's a problem right there. That's one of the problems I have as a woman. Secondly, I think it's really true commitment. Like, I feel like if all you have to help me with is the trust, if you're committed to that, and you know that I'll be angry if I see something laying around, you will make the effort to make sure that, you know what, we're on the same page. Let me do this. You know, this is what I have to do for the day. Because most of the time, we don't really ask for too much from our men. I don't think men realize that. We don't. But the little thing that tick us off is those little things. Like, don't put your shoes over there. Please take it upstairs now. Why? It's only a minute.
Thank you.
And that's where
I couldn't have said that better.
Kill us.
Standing ovation.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
But when we're in love with our men, we will go above and beyond for y'all.
Thank
but
you.
I feel like
Thank
the
you.
true commitment is not there. That's how I feel.
That's good.
All right.
So this is what I tell Mack all the
for
time. Let me just quickly say one more thing. This is what I tell Mack all the time. Just like you said, Lola, it's so little, and what you are looking for, especially when men want their women to adore them and worship, like you don't even understand what's in store for you if you just pick up those shoes. Like, you don't even understand. I'm ready to fall all the way in line for you. I mean, you don't even understand what you're about to get if you just pick up the shoes, tidy up. You know what I mean? Because but I think men overthink it. That's number one. But I think the biggest thing is, and I wanted to speak to you. You were saying, Mack, that, well, you're doing to me, and it's my ego, but you need to, like, the same gravity and the same seriousness that you take your ego is just as much seriousness that you should take picking up the shoes. Like, you may think, what's the big deal? It's not a big deal. Yeah. Just like I'm like, wow, your ego is really acting up today. You know what I mean? But the bottom line is, it's serious as shit to you. Like, this is serious. And I don't think men truly can compute that. You know, like, if I'm saying the same thing over and over, you think it's a nervous tick, and you think I'm not really internalizing it. Nah, it's serious. Like, it's not a joke. You know, so I think that's what men don't. I mean, they're like, well, it's my ego, and you have to understand it's so serious and everything. But you have to understand, like, they make what we're saying may seem petty to you, but that's the balance. That's what balances your ego. That's the equal representation of that for us. And I think if you can, like, when somebody is saying something, if you can say, wow, how would I feel if this were my ego? And you would have a specific way of moving with a sense of urgency around that, that should be the same level of urgency that's attached to a woman's needs around what you would consider petty.
I agree.
It is petty, but it is what it is.
It is not petty. It's serious. It's definitely not petty.
I agree. That's why they call it the fear-shame dynamic. You don't know when you've gotten into it. Like, it's equally important.
What Mack was talking about, the fear-shame dynamics, actually, I'm learning a lot from that. It's not like that part is not personal. It's just the science of it. It's just the truth. You know, it's the weakness on both sides. If you see, like I was saying in the beginning, if you trigger my vulnerability, right? I'm human. If you get there, if you manage to trigger that, you call it whatever name you want to call it, ego, whatever. If you trigger it, both of us, we're not going to get what we want. You get it?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what my intentions are. Intentions are the most overrated thing in the world. It doesn't matter. So that's why we go to things like boot camps. That's why we have this kind of tough conversations, because you need to understand, just because you're a good person, it's not enough. It's not enough. So that's why I say, when you use statements like, if you really love me, you wouldn't do this. Those kind of statements are limited in their power.
It's saying something.
You see what I'm saying? they won't get you results like Mack said earlier. They won't get you the result that you want, because at the end of the day, the thing that we truly want, right? The truth that we all want is the result. What we want is what we want. So for me, I beat men up a lot, because I'm like, listen, if you're butting heads, then you gotta lead. If she says tit for tat is you two, then you gotta stop and lead to where you want to go, because you're the leader. So because of that, I tend to beat men up a lot, because you have to be the leader. But I think it's helpful if a woman is aware enough to say, you know what, I don't want to get into a place where I forget that he's just a man. He can be complacent. He forgot his goddamn shoes again. Go there and tell him, without being awkward, with love, the shoes, can you please? And if you have babies that are over 5 years old, get the babies to get rid of the shoes.
But I don't see. This is the thing. This is what I struggle with. I don't disagree. But just as you would ask a woman to tread lightly around a man's ego, I would ask a man to also tread lightly around women's.
Absolutely.
So my thing is, because a lot of times, you know, men will be like, well, I just don't want you nagging me. But it goes back to what I said earlier. If you did the shit you were supposed to do, we won't even be here. So the point is, if you want me to prioritize tiptoeing around picking up the shoes for you, why don't you 90% of the time actually pick up your shoes?
Let me answer that.
You know, so if you pick up your shoes 90% of the time.
And then after you answer that, I want to also get in.
Let me answer that, Bola. There's a little phrase you used at the end of that sentence, for you, right? That for you part, right? When you tiptoe around the man's, you call it ego. I don't think it's ego necessarily, but again, labels are just labels. They're exactly what that is, right? But if you tiptoe around the man's ego, you, in this particular context, right, you're not doing it for him. You're trying to get a result, but not just now result, which is when he removes the shoes. You're also trying to get a longer term result beyond the now.
Right.
Then then remember that the man must also be doing the same thing for your own vulnerability. So if you have lack of self-respect, then you will entertain nonsense over and over, right? So I'm not ever encouraging that you should entertain that a man doing that over and over, like repeat offense, right? No, I'm just saying that once in a while, or every other day, or you identifying that this is just his weakness. There are going to be something that's just his weakness, just like you have yours, right? You recognizing that and saying, you know what, I'm just going to cover it. Understand that a good man already covers more than enough of that as well on your part. But we just don't tend to have that conversation, but we don't need to have that conversation. If you just stroke our ego a little bit every now and then, we're good. You understand what I'm saying? The tit for tat, back and forth, but you two did this. Every time, you know, most people waste a lot of money on counseling because they go there to do, you two did this, you two did this. We don't get no result. We just wasted $200. We go into a relationship to give, period. If you can't give enough, honorably bow out of the relationship. If you feel like I don't like this person enough to give to them anymore, just get out. There's no crime in that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
so
agree.
wait, hold. So let me answer that. I think you did a really good job of explaining that, and so to emphasize is because I think, and perhaps this is needed for those men who are not necessarily where we are, in the sense of understanding that those things are in fact important, and it's not just you left your shoes on the ground. It means so much more. You know, and in fact, to be quite honest, like I was reminded of how important it is when you said it. So I think maybe it is important, but I think what needs to be understood is what Ola said. It's what your intentions are. It's not just you want to get adoration. It's about, I want to get this thing done. Right. That's what it is. I want you to do this. And when you go and you say, you know what, I'm upset, and so I'm going to respond in this way, it's just not, you're not going to get your way either. Yeah. And so it's about, like, this thing is not about what the person is not doing. It's about how to respond in a way that that you're not, you know, finding yourself in that fear-shame dynamic and, you know, cursing each other out.
Right.
So,
but that's my point, though, because I think we're saying the same thing, but a lot of times, because it's very easy to put the onus on the women. And I'm not saying that we don't have our part to play, but it is very easy to say, well, if you just speak with him gently, we wouldn't even be here. That's true. I'm not saying it's not. And a woman can go around, but I'm just saying, I think it's important to emphasize the role that men play in that. Because a woman, yeah, I can speak as gently as I want, but you can piss me up one more time and we're going to have a problem. You know what I mean? Like, we're human beings. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to equally stress to men, you know, because we understand the ego thing. Everybody respects it. Yeah, you know, don't be upset. Just don't nag too much. Don't do all this stuff. Let's all also equally emphasize, pick your shoes up. When she says, do this, do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's important to create that balance so that we understand the equal role that we have to play. That's all I'm saying.
In that case, then, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth, but in that case, then, if the way you emphasize it is not to talk about you didn't pick up your shoes, it's really to talk about the importance of it and how it's deep. Because the way that it's coming across is you didn't pick up your shoes. Everybody who's listening to this is like, really? You're getting upset because he didn't pick up his shoes? When everybody can understand as a human being, when you hurt my feelings, it could hurt way more than you just punching me in my face. Everybody can understand that. Like they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. That's not true at all. The words can hurt way more. Yeah. Exactly. And so that's why when somebody talks about ego, everybody can feel it. You just hurt his ego. Everybody's looking and like you embarrass a man in front of an audience, everybody's feeling for that man. Because everybody knows how it is to be embarrassed. When you talk about picking up shoes, nobody freaking understands it. So when it's now relayed back, when you want to make it understood how it's equally important, you have to now relate to that fear of, you know what, this is why it's that important to me. This is why picking up your shoes is that important to me. It represents something that's deeper than that.
That's why I said true commitment.
Let me tell you guys a quick story with regards to ego, right? Not too long ago, this is like 2 months ago, February. Not too long ago, right here, our door here, my wife knocked the door. She was coming in with some of my in-laws.
Decided to go there, huh?
Yeah, it's big. I don't find stories to tell all the time because I also want to protect
We're just amongst friends. Ain't nobody else listening. Don't worry. Ain't nobody else.
You know, I don't find stories to tell all the time because I also want to protect us, right? But this one is it's personal, but it's good, right?
It's a good example.
And she came in and she rang the bell, and I came straight.
I rang the bell how many times?
She rang the bell, right? A few times.
I like how he just said ring the bell and didn't mention she was ringing the bell.
She was outside.
Right? But wait. It was how long? Let's hear from her. How long was it? Be honest. Let's say the length of time.
Well, I kept ringing the bell. Well, like 4 times. No response.
She rang the bell.
That's a lot, Lola. That's a lot. She was tired.
And I'm pretty sure she didn't just go 1, 2, 3, 4. She probably was like.
Waited.
I was tired. So let me put it in proper perspective. I guess it was cold outside.
It was cold as hell. Yeah.
She had some things in her hands, right?
Hey, listen, I'm already there waiting.
Left the
But this
baby
happens
for me.
lots of times, Lola. Yes.
Wait, so I go to see. First of all, under normal circumstances, you will have our keys and open the door, right? So that was a little bit weird for me that somebody's ringing the bell. So the first instinct is I go to the window to see who is ringing the bell. I noticed it's quite a few people by the door, but I heard their voice. I knew they were my in-laws, right? So by the time I got to the door, I wanted to put some shoes on, put a shirt on, right? So I got to the door, and she goes, did you hear me opening the door? And she did her face like that.
I said, did you hear me ringing the bell?
Bro, my feelings was hurt.
Yeah, it was so hurt.
Why? Because there were other people. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't matter to me. Okay? Yeah. There were other people, and I feel if there are other people, because she does a good job at protecting me and not doing that in front of people, but for some reason she was caught up in her feelings.
She was tired. She was tired. I get it, Lola. You were tired. Ain't nobody else got time to protect egos at this point. It's cold. Yes.
So, but my
I'm with you.
My issue, I didn't really realize until probably a day or two after that, was really in the presence of people, right? Was in the presence is the shame thing. I wanted to bring out the shame ego thing that Marcus keeps talking about, right? And here's what I did. I didn't go defensive back at her face. What I did actually hurt a lot more than that. I went numb. I just went quiet. And she could tell because I didn't respond. Because my thing is that if you cannot respect me in front of people, I'm definitely not going to disrespect you, but I'm also not going to tolerate that I'll just go numb, meaning I'm just quiet. But she knows my normal behavior, and she could tell that I went numb, and that didn't sit well. That created awkward energy that transcends the next few hours. Okay? So my point there is this. It's not everyone that's going to be wise enough to just be quiet. I could also maybe cover it up a little bit and not just go numb and act like everything is happy, because honestly, me going quiet didn't help any issues too, but at least it wasn't talking. Talking oftentimes destroys more. Silence cannot destroy. It can maybe create awkward energy or anything like you can always get back to talking about what you want to get to, right? But if I was to do it all over again, and let's say that happens oftentimes enough, right? I'm probably just going to continue the energy as normal and say, can't you wait? And maybe tell her, if it's that serious for me, I'll tell her, can't you wait until everybody's not there before you start scolding me in front of people? Right? That was really the issue. But I wanted to bring it out just so you understand. Even though, as much as I know about the psychological dynamics of these things, I have feelings. And I caught feelings in that moment in time.
Yeah.
And
it is hard.
No one got the result that they wanted. I opened the door when I could open the door, because that's what was going to happen anyway.
But my thing was, what if I was being chased by some crazy
I already looked at the window.
I got the door 4 times.
You would have. You would have. Yeah.
Did you see what TK wrote?
Somebody said, TK said, ringing the bell, like, what the hell are you doing inside? In our head, like a split second, is there someone there inside?
No, my kids are here. They're grown. They will never do that.
I mean,
right?
You got boys, right?
No, my point is
you got boys. When I was young, I knew my dad was getting down, so I wasn't running back.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that TK probably does have a point. Even if it doesn't linger, and it doesn't even have to be. So in 2 seconds, I don't know. Kind of thought to go through your brain. All kind of thoughts to be gone. Is he dead? Is he dead? Is somebody in there? No, is he paralyzed? Is it him?
Actually.
So yet again, you're confused.
Yeah, it was just frustration. People get frustrated. It's what it is. People get frustrated. She was frustrated. And the thing is, it's hard when you get because they say when you get attacked, you go into your toddler brain. You're not thinking rationally. But really, what the best thing would have been to say, you know what? I'm sorry, babe.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. I mean, and then that would have been, yeah. I mean, if you can stay in your rational brain, but a lot of times you just can't be in your rational.
It doesn't hurt anything at all.
Well, I also got the point that, I shouldn't have done that, and I felt bad.
Everything happens for a reason. Maybe
I don't blame you.
No, and that's
everything happens for a reason.
I know, but it was cold.
It was cold. And she needed to see for a minute that, hey, as macho as he tries to get, he can, it will have his moments.
Fall in line.
We're all human.
I don't know.
It's better.
Honestly, I've been there, Lola, and I think what happens is it's actually less what TK says. You're outside, you press the doorbell, and now you're starting to, for me, because I think respect is all, just as respect is important for a man, I think it's also respect is important for women. So now I'm sitting outside, I don't ring the doorbell, you taking your time to put on a shirt, you understand how cold it is. And the shoes, and you understand, if that were you would not take too lightly to that. So I'm thinking all sorts of things. Now I'm pissed off because do you respect me or not?
Especially men. That's why a king, you gotta calm down. This like the world is not coming down. When you're in your moments of frustration, the world is not gonna come down from heaven. I mean, the heaven is not gonna come down. It's not. Just relax. Take the time until you see face to face. No assumptions, right? And I think it's like we had this conversation when we were on your podcast that naturally a woman has that fear thing. It's the feminine thing. Their mind goes into different places, not necessarily the worst things. Just, I expect that if all else fails, a man should still be able to stay in the center and relax when you get there. And I believe in what Mack said. Oh yes, I'm sorry, babe, and leave it
Yeah.
alone. Because you guys are in a sacred relationship that transcends this any moment in time. So there's nothing that she just wanted to feel safe in that moment in time. And I still say this because sometimes you will have a man who is a lot more sensitive than the normal. That doesn't mean you're in the wrong marriage. Sometimes that just means maybe you could support that end of it and you could be the one to stay a little bit more center for him while he figures himself out. Now, with that being said, I still do think a man should be a man, because if a woman can't respect you, honestly, like respect is earned, trust is earned, those kind of things are earned. If she doesn't feel it, you can't force it. You can't textbook. You should just respect. It's if you're a person that if you're not a respectable husband, you're just not. It's as simple as that. So I always wanted to pound that, because as much as we would like to call this thing equal when it comes to psychologically, right? On both ends, a woman is still attracted to a man, to a man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, no matter how we want to paint it, shape it, at least for a typical person. See what I'm saying? Now, I have two more questions with respect to that. We've already tackled the fact that feeling heard, right?
So can I, before you jump into that question, I want to say a couple of things. The first is with respect to, staying calm and composed. I think, one of the things that they talk about is being in your core value. It's like when somebody says or does something, whether it's man or woman, that impacts you, that you feel a certain vulnerability towards, like you feel devalued, like, what, am I not as big as I am? And that is part of the reason why you get defensive. Yes. And so it's practicing, whether man or woman, practicing recognizing when you felt devalued, because it all happens automatically and you don't even recognize that you jumped into it. So you have to recognize when it happens. So when, for example, you recognize that you felt a certain way when she said what she said in front of, the people who were there. Like, it's seeing that and saying, okay, here's how I felt devalued, and practicing making yourself feel as quickly as you felt devalued, bring yourself back to your normal valued state so that you can respond in a great way. Right. It is a practice, and it is something that you have to do.
Practice. Process.
And I also just wanted to quickly say, and I don't know if this is going to throw you off and you may just, throw it off, but I'm interested in the idea of what makes a man respectable. And I'm wondering if part of being respectable is, standing your ground at times. You know what I mean? Like, if you're always caving in, you're not necessarily going to be seen as respectable. And that's for anybody, really. Like, you gotta stand your ground. So maybe that's part of it. Like, if you're always, obviously there's more than one way you can be not respectable. If you don't have a job, if you aren't looking for assistance with your impotence. You know what I'm saying?
I'll answer that. I'll answer that. The respectable thing, right? Is very harsh. It can come up very harsh on men, and but I also believe it's what helps the best of us build strength that we need in the society. Respectable sometimes it's not necessarily a matter of fault. I don't even believe that relationship is a matter of right and wrong. If a person doesn't, there are many reasons why they don't find you respectable. This person can find you respectable, and this other one may not find you respectable based on their personal background. Actually has nothing to do with you. Actually, where they're coming from defines how they find a person respectable or not. What I'm saying is that some of it are very, very common among all of us, and we can identify everywhere, right? So if you're showing up, one thing that will make you not respectable is if you get thrown off your center so easily. If every time she complains, you find yourself off your center and you're angry, you're not respectable to her. There's no way she can find you respectable, because she's expecting you to be, I'm sorry to say, a man. you know, and remember, it's not just one event. It, like you were just saying, like, is it every time you cave in? No, but even how you express yourself when something doesn't sit right with you is everything. Like if something, um example, yesterday she was asking me some question about baby scores. Babe, I thought I had a headache for a second real quick, and then eventually I was like, she doesn't want me to cave in right now. And I said, babe, I need you to help me with this, help me with this, help me with this, help me with this. I'm going to send you the login right now. And she took it from there. I could have gone the other way around in that moment in time and say, can't you just handle that part too? Right? Depends on how I handle the situation. So when you say caving, right? Is it every time you cave in? Then she can't find you respectable. And it's not a matter of right and wrong. It's not a matter of blame. It's not your fault. It's just what it is. You're not respectable. And if she doesn't feel a sense of attraction towards you because you're not respectable, then it's just what it is. She doesn't feel it. She doesn't get to control how she feels unless she starts learning too. But even at some point, if she give and give and give and give, and she's the one helping you become respectable, something you should earn, she's going to cave in at some point too. So we don't want that. We want her to find you respectable because it's our idea to be attracted to you in that sense, as opposed to. So I think it's not the matter of, it's not caving in. It's, do you cave in every time? That's what it is. If you cave in once in a while, she will fight for you. She will be the first to say, no, he's just frustrated, he's tired. He will give all the excuses in the world to protect you, even if other people are in their presence, because she knows that's not normally you, that you're tired, you're just tired, But if every time you cave in, she's going to put a face on in front of her sisters or her family, they're going to think she's going through a lot more than that moment. They're going to fight you, all of them, from that family, right? Because they're going to say, you're not making her feel safe. And a lot of men will hear that over and over again. You're not making her feel safe, and they don't really understand it. It's just how you carry yourself. Just remember, you're a king. A king does not get, like, if there's craziness going on in town, if there's a need for him to carry the gun and go on the wall, he will. But it's not going to go off of his center. He's going to stay in his center as much as he can. There are going to be moments where he's going to be angry. Even Jesus was angry at one point in the Bible where he started throwing stuff off in the church, right? But you don't hear every chapter he's angry. And those are.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Ola. I think it's about knowing what that center is. I think it's being grounded, know what your values are, what you're willing to fight for or be moved for, and what you're willing to solve. So I think the issue is a lot of people don't want to be bothered with. I think a lot of people just expect things to always be good. So if you sitting here presenting a problem, it's an issue because now you're messing up my flow. As opposed to, yeah, you're gonna have to engage in some problem solving. That's life. Everybody does. You know what I mean? And you gotta understand that you have the capability to solve problems. And just because the problem is presenting itself doesn't mean the rest of your day gotta be effed up because of it. You've just got to be able. You bring the resources. Okay, let me leverage this here. This is a little inconvenient, but I'm gonna have a meltdown as a result of it. So I think it's a matter of understanding what your core is, what your strengths are, the resources you can leverage in terms of problem solving, as opposed to every little thing just pisses you off. I think that's what makes it very difficult because you don't really understand the process of problem solving, and you don't want to be bothered. That's not very respectful.
Personally, what I got from what you said, and I completely agree with, is what people find respectable is whatever the heck they're bringing into it. Because there are men who are out there like complete bums that women are completely in love with. Like they don't have the job and whatever. They are men who are always off their center.
Well, they probably
and women
down
are,
in the bedroom.
So that's what the woman finds respectable then. My point is, the
point is you gotta put in work somehow. If you put in work, at some point you're gonna have to put in work. Is the point? If that's what your skill set is, and that's where your center is, go ahead and put in that work. Right. The point is, though, you're gonna have to put in work somehow. Yeah. You can't just sit here and not put in work.
However, right, there are some things that if you pick you guys as couple, myself as couple, and 5 other couples, there are some things that are common. Feeling heard is common. A man feeling underappreciated is common. There are a few of those things that are common. It is our responsibility. A lot of men get thrown off their center every time a woman nags. It's common. There's some things that we can just learn up front, right? Even including the one I just gave example. Just stay in your center. It goes a long way to learn those things. In spite of that, yes, everyone define respect individually based on where they're absolutely coming from. Let's see what Mr. TK is saying.
Somebody said Bola.
I completely agree with that.
Somebody said Bola. Why is it? I missed the question.
TK?
Yeah,
no,
it's down there.
somebody else.
I pinned it. Bola, why is it that when women know that their husband is very loyal to them, they crush the ego, except the guy fights for his life? That's a very generic.
They don't find him respectable. That is, listen. The problem is you picked the wrong woman, my friend. That's like seriously, like you, like the first thing you want to do is find a woman who finds respectable men respectable. Because I'm telling you, there are women who are out there like, he doesn't beat me. Man, you are soft. Look, don't tell me that doesn't exist. Don't tell me that doesn't exist. And it's like, okay, exist. I mean, you need
go watch.
It's what you bring to the table.
There's a girl called Michelle, old R&B singer on my bootcamp. She used to date Suge Knight and people like that, and she's used to that. And when she she's now dating a guy who is respectable.
Michelle, Andre, Drake,
And she finds it very weird that a guy is respecting her and trying to treat her well.
Yeah, it happens.
We were talking about infidelity. Yes, it could be a deal breaker for some people, but it's actually the least of the issues that most marriages go through.
Oh, wait, what's the question of infidelity though?
The person that commented earlier, you know, it seems like it's always skewed towards a man cheating and a man, like it's a man against a woman type of situation.
Like the culture in Nigeria, for example, most women don't trust their husbands because men tend to have like this.
They have side chicks. It's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Having side chick is like just the norm. You expect that.
Where you're saying in other parts of the world.
In Nigeria.
Yeah. So the problems are like, you know, what we're doing.
Wait, you saying it doesn't exist in America?
No, I think not that it doesn't exist in America.
No, it's not. But it's not the norm. It's not just, you don't just expect your husband will have a side chick anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Like at your wedding, 2-3 girlfriends may show up to your wedding.
Yes.
And the next day. That night, you may even go out with your girlfriend. Everybody knows the girlfriends are here. Not only are the girlfriends here, they get a special table and they're respected. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
wait, the girlfriends are respected?
Yes.
Wait, the girlfriends are respected?
They're respected. The people in your house know them. Your family welcomes them. All right, my brother's girlfriend, come sit down. Listen, it's a whole different situation. It's a different situation. In America,
you're telling me the girlfriends are respected.
Yes, the girlfriend is definitely in Nigeria.
In addition to that, right? Nigerian couples are dealing with everything else we're saying too. In addition to that.
Yeah. It's not even considered infidelity. It's an inconvenience. I don't even know if it's an infidelity. It's a slight inconvenience.
A slight inconvenience.
I was speaking to a friend of mine, and he was telling me of how a couple in London is best friend. They're trying to split up because the guy cheated. So he was telling her that's all he did.
That's it.
What's the problem?
You need to understand that was just sex with a girl. He's not making love to her. That's not a big deal. You should consider the fact that he's a good man, regardless of that.
In fact, just last week, a popular ex-governor's wife came on Instagram Live and told young girls that if a person sleeps with somebody else outside, that's not a problem. That they're not making love. They make love to you at home. That's just sex. That's just a mindset.
It's almost, to be honest, it's almost expected. It's almost expected. And I think it's expected.
If it's a girlfriend, it's not just sex. If it's some random, then that's just sex. If it's a girlfriend, it's more than sex.
Of course.
I think. But what I'm saying,
we know that they don't know that.
No, but those girlfriends, though. But to be honest, the reason why they're respected is because their girlfriends. Like the family recognizes their place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which
So
means
they,
it's not just sex.
no, that's what I'm saying. So they respect it, they understand it. But I think that
I
probably,
mean, how is that different than
that's what I'm
polyamorous
saying.
relationships?
No, it's not
Like,
even poly. I think the reason why it's respected and understood and accepted is because we come from a polygamy. We come from a polygamy culture. Like our grandparents, a lot of them have multiple wives.
Like literally,
So it's actually
parents,
part of the culture. Yeah.
Like literally, our parents are the first generation
Without
of non-polygamous people.
Yes.
Literally.
So I think naturally the family just expects. Of course, you're gonna have multiple women you're interested in. Of course, you're gonna have children outside
I
of.
know.
Of
My
course.
dad had
So
right chicks. Like
yeah.
These were presented to me as my aunties.
These are aunties.
I would go home and say, "Mommy, I saw auntie blah blah blah. Which is coming from there." My mom would just go crazy and nuts.
Yeah.
You're taking my baby.
But she knows.
So when I was growing up, I thought it was okay to have a side chick. I came to America and everything changed. But I thought, that's what men do. What's the big deal?
No, no, it is.
But my
It's
mindset changed.
very.
It is a freaking big deal.
Yeah.
So guys,
No,
those were very, very good conversations that we had. I wish we could keep going forever because we will never finish,
Yeah.
But I think it's good to have those conversations. Ultimately, less words. We can have this conversation like this, but I believe that when you're living your life normally, another thing that could tend to, when you're in this kind of school, is that you tend to bring it up when you're interacting, and that could be a dangerous place. Just don't live normal. Like, let's just normal people. We don't want to be quick to say, "Oh, that's lack of effective communication." We don't do stuff like that. It's only gonna remember you're still humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Instead, that's why I really believe in the giving thing. Just focus on your part, building yourself, and focus on giving. You already have a good woman. You already have a good man. So if you left the shoe,
Wait,
it's
hold
not the end
on.
of the world.
Let's not assume you already got a good woman and a good man. That's not a given.
If you
For
do.
anybody else, or are you talking about us specifically?
Only if you
Okay,
do.
gotcha.
Only
Right.
if you do.
Yeah,
But
and
you don't
I'm
have
not saying that. And I'm saying that not because even if it's not ideal right now, you can definitely work on it. But I'm just saying, like, we need to understand it takes work, number one.
Yes.
And just the idea that, what's your problem? I'm a good man. Nah, you probably not. What's your problem? I'm a good woman. You probably got some work to do, So we all got work to do.
Yeah.
Not just, but your friend would just, you're sitting here complaining, how many other women would accept all this stuff?
Right.
No, you're not that gift that you think you are. We got some work to do. Let's put some work in. So, yes.
Absolutely.
I
Now,
agree.
quick question for you regards to work. Why do, if I could be in Nigeria and have side chicks coming as special guests to my wedding and stuff, why would I want to, what's the value in it to put in that
What's
kind
the
of work?
value?
What's the value in marriage from your perspective that I would want to put in lifetime of work? When we say work, that doesn't sound like fun. Now, people can watch us and look at us and think marriage goal, relationship goals. But when you say work, there's some people that check out right there. And they're wondering,
No.
why would I want to go into a life of work? I don't want babies. What the hell?
No, I think that's a great point. I think you've got to define marriage for yourself. And that's a great point, because the marriage could be, I think to Mack's point earlier, or even a lot of the point that we've made earlier, I do think there's a spiritual bond that you can have with your husband, but you can pretty much have it with anybody if you're willing to put in the work. Any sort of bond or relationship or connection that you're going to have with your family members, your friendships, all of that takes work, and you have to be willing to put that work in. I think it's much easier if it's done with your spouse, because you're building a legacy together. You're building your children. You have to figure out a way to nurture them. You're working on projects together, initiatives. So I just think it's much easier if you all can connect on a level that is accretive, meaning we're not spending our time and energy fighting. That's a waste of time. For me, that's the devil's playground. And like, if you talk about the devil's playground, it's chaos. It's fights and chaos. But if you can get on a good ground, you can actually build legacies, you can build generation, you can have success, because now your energy is devoted to meaningful things. But if you, in other parts of the world, like Nigeria, whatever, if you've decided you're not trying to have this sort of peaceful connection with your wife, you're going to find it elsewhere. Maybe you find it with your friendships, maybe you find it with your family members. That's you, but you gotta set that contract accordingly with your wife or whoever it is. Because I do think there's an issue with, I think character is an important thing. I think whatever it is that you want, say what you want and mean what you say. But when you start sneaking around and lying and all this other stuff, I don't think the universe smiles on that in any way. You can have whatever you want.
You can't build anything.
Yeah, you can't build.
So all I want to say with respect to this person who doesn't want to do work, first, like, here's the cliche: nothing worth having is I'm done without effort. Okay, number one. But that being said, like,
is the picture? Is it true?
I believe so. Because personally, even living with yourself, if you want to be happy, requires work, and you have to live with yourself. You can't run away from yourself. Like, your own relationship with yourself, you know what I'm saying, requires work to be happy. And so this whole idea that you're just going to live this world and not do any work means that if you don't do any work, you're going to be one miserable mother. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be miserable, because if you don't do any work to extract yourself from the pain that this world brings, because it's not just going to work all in your favor. It just doesn't happen. You're not in paradise. If you don't do any work, you're going to be miserable. So this idea that you're going to come in and do anything without work, you could dead that right there.
Right. In any aspect of life. In any aspect of life, actually. Yeah. So some people say work is privilege. So if you have that mindset that work is a privilege from the get-go, some people don't get down to the lost a job, you know, or until there's a COVID-19 in the streets, right? If you understand, being able to go to work, being able to wake up every day is a privilege. So if we say marriage takes work, you should have at the back of your mind automatically, if something takes work, there must be some really beautiful benefits to it.
Yes.
Right.
And we could start from, why do you want marriage yourself in the first place? Whatever that is, okay, just know that you can have it, but it takes work. Like everything else in life that's worthwhile.
Yeah. Child rearing, bringing up children, art, building a house, whatever it is that you're going to do, you're going to have to put in work. So you just have to decide where you're going to put that work in. But I do agree that, you know, relationships don't have to be as we've decided it should be in the Western world. You know, there are people who have arranged marriages. There are people who have polygamy. I mean, you can create whatever world you want, but to me, I think integrity and character should be at the core of it, because I truly believe that the universe, I think God has a lot of things in store for you, but it only feeds upon positive energy. And if you're creating pain and misery in other people, you can't expect for you to get beauty and life in return. It don't make no sense. No, it's what you sell. So do what you want, but have integrity about it. Yeah,
that's right. And I think that's what women want. Okay, that's why I keep talking about true commitment, integrity, respect, all those things. They align with that. You understand? There is no woman out there that just want to be crazy. Oh man, you are nuts.
Mack.
But there's no accountability on the part of the man.
Mack. So Babatike says the only reason I find it hard to have a side chick is because I find it hard to lie. It's a distraction.
That's real.
But you can only do it when you can lie well. What do you
That's real. That's real. I think that's the realest thing I've ever.
Not have integrity is because you can't lie. Let me put that properly.
I mean, the only reason. No, I don't know.
Question.
It's not the. He said the only reason So this is why he wouldn't do it. Now for me, what's true about what he said is that it's freaking hard to damn lie.
That's a lot of energy.
Like juggling all these lies. Juggling all these lies is a problem.
As a given, you can't be honest. Men are the most terrible liars in the world. They don't know how to lie. That's across board already. They just take the risk because there is some kind of value, even if it's fake
See, people keep saying men can't lie and women can lie more. I do not agree with that. Here's the difference between men and women. I mean, let me explain to you. Let me explain. Okay.
Look how sneaky.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Two things. Here's what I believe about women. They are definitely better at the socializing than we are. Women are made to socialize. They in fact, because, and this is my belief, I haven't done any research on this. I think women, because they are not the physically stronger sex, they have to rely on their guile. You know what I'm saying? Their ability to think and do all. Men are just like brutes. Like, I need to get this. I'm gonna use a hammer. You know what I'm saying? And from the minute there, you can see a young girl. She's already recognizing her beauty, and how that makes people react in a different way to how she is. Now she's using that. Exactly. So yes, they definitely develop that skill, but I don't think that's why it's harder to cheat. I think the reason why it's harder to cheat for a man is because, for the most part, a woman is not just the woman they're cheating with. Don't just want to smash.
Exactly.
A man, however, the woman who wants to cheat with a man is going to be like, as long as I'm getting it, I'm not going to cause any trouble. You don't need to call me. Come and get it whenever you want. Now I don't have to communicate. All I got to do is show up. Now, how are you going to get caught?
Yep.
Exactly. How are you going to get caught? So that is the reason.
I think that could be a reason when you look at across board, but I think the general reason it should be, which is not, is integrity, right? But but I think it's a very expensive it's a very expensive lifestyle to have to, in terms of money, time, like. It's not just the line.
Energy.
The line is the least of the issues, right?
Oh my God, yeah,
There's
agree.
so much energy that goes into the life, especially if you're maintaining a side chick. If it's just you just go around the corner and sleep with random stuff, which is dangerous, that's also expensive in terms of disease. But I'm saying you maintain a relation with a side chick, that's expensive. And a side chick, they're human. Humans, they will catch feelings. If you're doing it in your circle, it will come out to light. Your woman, they have this thing, the energy, the intuition. They will figure it out. They will pick up that vibe.
I mean, in the age of social media, they can easily slide in your DMs, send you pictures.
So
I mean, come on. It's not even.
And we are so bad at lying that our behavior is already showing that our energy is going somewhere else too.
Yes.
You know,
yes. Because it's only that much. It's only that many. It's not that much time. You go to work, you come home. Yeah. And the minute you start going unaccounted for, the minute you coming home happy all of a sudden, and you're like, why are we excited? Why are we happy?
I mean, the best. So like my man TK said, the best of them know how to lie. First of all, they've already set up a whole, like, they got the jobs where they're traveling. So you got, like, you know, they got the whole entire thing set up. So the whole idea of not being able to lie, come on, man. So I know men who have a whole entire family somewhere else, and nobody knows. What the hell? That's some good lying. Like they got kids. So,
it's real. So, but I just think it's the least. I think infidelity in marriages is a big deal, but it's the least of the many issues that marriage. There are people that don't cheat on each other, but they are living a very miserable married life just because the woman doesn't feel heard, the man does not feel devalued every time he's trying to have a communication. He calls it communication. Every time he's trying to have a communication, it's a breakdown in communication because he's trying to get a word in, he can't get a word in. He's feeling beat down. It's getting worse and worse. It translates to everything else in life. That's why I said it's a teamwork, definitely. It's also individual work on individual sides. Like, we have to just be aware that the person you're dealing with is your husband that you love, but he's human. Now, if he's disrespectful, as in like it's not a good man, because I want to make sure I touch on that, like Bola was alluding to earlier, you know when you're being disrespected.
Yes.
But you don't think infidelity, honestly, so when you said infidelity is the least of the problem, I don't agree with that. I think it's it's a representation of the issues in your marriage.
Right, which is why it's not the big one.
Let me
Yeah, but I think infidelity is highly disrespectful.
But it's not the infidelity itself; it's what it represents. That's the big problem.
Let me explain that. Let me explain that. See, infidelity, from what I can see, right, is most likely a symptom of underlying issues, right? It doesn't have to be the woman's fault that your husband is lying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is a gap, there's a vacuum that something outside was able to fill. Doesn't have to be your fault. I'm just saying there's a gap there, right? The idea that somebody deliberately go out and cheat, yes, exists, but it's a bad behavior.
Right.
There are underlying issues. See, when you treat a disease from the symptoms, you have to come back next year and get a shot again. You understand that? Right? But if you can treat the fuck up of that damn virus, you don't have to deal with that again.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, that's true.
Now, eliminate right and wrong from everything I'm saying, then we are good. If you put right and wrong, you are absolutely right. Yes, it's his fault. It's right, it's wrong. You're right. But what I found is that doesn't get anyone anywhere, because then you put somebody in a position where they have to say, it's your fault as well, too. It's your too. You did this too. You did that too. And it becomes this blame game back and forth, right? But if you don't understand we're a human being, how I feel a love tank, like Gary Chapman said, is what matters. If I continue to put effort in that, she only has so much energy. Another reason why it's hard to cheat, because there's only so much energy. She's taking so much of my energy in a good way that there's no room.
Yeah.
There's no room.
Yeah.
To put energy anywhere else. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. So if I have enough to be given a side chick outside, I mean, don't blame yourself, but I'm saying something is missing clearly somewhere, right? And that's not your fault. I'm just saying something is missing here. That's why I think if someone thinks marriage is over and they can't, it's okay. They may even do that first before they figure out that they need each other. Sometimes, because again, energy is neither created nor destroyed. Sometimes when something creates a vacuum, that's when you know the value of it. That's when you have a frame of reference, a reference point to each other, right? If you don't know good, you don't know bad. If you don't know bad, you don't know good. Okay? So the back and forth is your fault. People do that quite often. That's why I come to the conclusion that I'm right, I'm wrong, it's irrelevant. I love you.
No, that's true. It's about how you can be there for the other person and their needs. And
that's it.
What do I need? What do I need? How are you feeling that need? And what do you need? And how am I feeling those needs?
Right. So it looks like this person just jumped in. It says, what's the point of dating multiple ladies? It is wrong. It is wrong. You're right. But it's irrelevant to what we're talking about. Because the idea of bringing a person...
Because I'm pretty sure he's dating multiple ladies.
He's fighting with himself. Is it wrong? What is his?
It's like, yes, I'm going to put that. His wife is right next to him. I'm going to write this, wife. Okay.
It's irrelevant because you're right. If you feel like it's wrong and it's that wrong for you and you have to move on, why don't you just, if it's that bad for you, why don't you just honorably check out of the relationship so that everyone else can move on a little bit faster? Yes, he or she will be hurt, but they'll get over it.
Yes.
Right? But if you stay in it and you're making each other's lives miserable because he cheated 5 years ago, you see, wrong or right doesn't help you.
And then you're still counting 50 years. Oh, we've been married 50 years, but are you happily married though? That's
okay.
Question.
Let me ask.
Are you happy?
Let me ask this question. What if you have a situation where the person knows that their spouse is having outside relationships and, you know, they just don't, I mean, which pretty much happens like you guys talk about with the Nigerian you know, men, and they just know in their opinion, like, not just because they're accepting it culturally, but they love this dude and they don't, I mean, they don't care. Like, for example, Fela had a whole freaking slew of
women. But that's accepted, though. That's accepted in Nigeria.
Yeah. Those are,
yeah, but that's beside the point. But the point I'm making, yes, is definitely consenting. But what I'm saying here is, this belies the concept of only one energy. Like, why can I only have energy for one person?
Point.
Clearly,
That's a good point, and it came up on our last week segment. We were talking about. I said what I said. Anything I say is not gospel truth. It's just my perspective. You cannot be in love with two people at the same time. You can love multiple people at the same time because we love our family. We're not having sex with them, but we love them, and we will fight for multiple people at the same time if we have to. In love, I'm talking about the attraction part of it. The attraction,
right,
especially towards the sexual aspect of it, right?
Right.
When you are giving it to that one person, you're really, really in there. When we're talking about committed relationship, right? So if you have multiple wives, even our fathers will tell you, our ancestors will tell you that there's something called ayo. That favorite at any point in time. It can change from time to time though. But there's that room of that woman that man goes to every night, and it's not necessarily the newest wife. When the newest wife is new, yes, when they're new. But if he hasn't married somebody else in a while, he will change from time to time based on different psychological dynamics that's going on in his head.
I completely, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see that. But my point is, okay, is in love. It depends on what you're trying to say, and I could see that. But what I'm saying here is, if it does shift from time to time, from one person to another, like, how important is this in love piece? Like, who cares if he's in love with one person at this point? It's just like like you said. I mean, she's new, so really, I'm in love with this newness.
It's new.
So how important is this new, like, this in love piece? Like, who cares? Like, what I'm talking about here is this idea that you cannot have more than one piece of energy. Like, you.
You got in trouble.
Wait, keep going. We get distracted a little bit here.
Yeah, no, somebody was saying he got in trouble.
We'll
by
get
saying
to it. Continue with your thoughts.
Yeah, but my point is, yes, so whether or not it's the in love feeling, because it's something that's temporary, potentially, because it's something that's fleeting, potentially, like, what does it matter? Because what you were saying is the only reason why somebody could be giving their love to multiple people is because there's something missing. But clearly, in some situations, maybe there's nothing missing.
Let me give you another example.
I think it's a matter of to me, I don't think, like Ola said, I don't think there's a standard right or wrong. I think there's integrity and character. If you feel the need to have multiple wives or whatever it is,
yes,
I think as long as you're open about it and you understand how that contributes to the legacy of the life that you're looking to build,
yes,
that's you. But be above board. But don't be selling dreams. Don't sell dreams to somebody like you're the only one, and then be doing something else. That's an integrity issue. I don't think there's anything wrong with multiple. You have to be upfront.
Yes. And remember, frame of reference, the culture where you're working from, right? It could be religion, right? That mindset frame of reference controls everything.
Okay, just basically said the same thing you said, Bola.
Let's say I got into trouble severally by saying that I'd rather get a second wife than have a side chick. It keeps my integrity, finances. Hope you guys don't scheme me too. Absolutely. That's exactly what Bola was just saying. It's just the understanding. It's not a matter of right and wrong. Just to know.
Do what makes sense for you.
Okay, so the earlier ones, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's face it.
Let's face facts.
Let's face facts. Generally men are polygamous in nature. I'm a Nigerian with a difference. I have my reasons for stating this fact. I have friends who sometimes try to talk me into dating. Well, we spoke about that earlier.
Well, that's true. That's true. Nigerian people have no respect for one-on-one marriage. No, there's no tolerance.
Wait, so wait. Well, he's saying he has friends. As a married man, he has friends who's talking him into dating.
Yeah.
Like another. Like not let's go out and party and potentially get into trouble.
Mack,
but like, here's a woman for you to start dating.
On your wedding night, they're hooking you up with somebody else. It's the norm.
Why?
Because they don't respect one-on-one. They don't respect one-on-one. Ain't nothing like you. As far as they're concerned. The more the merrier as they're concerned. As far as they're concerned, the more the merrier.
Now let me ask you
Yeah,
guys a
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Do you think, forget man or woman, do you think as human beings that we are just polygamous in nature, or you think it's bullshit?
I do.
I
So
don't
hold
know.
on. I do believe that we're polygamous in nature. Here's the reason, and I don't know that I knew this before I watched this thing on Netflix. It's called Sex Explained. There are multiple episodes. It's like, I don't know if you guys seen the Explained stuff. It's like it's short. Yeah, they're like short little clips on that just outlines what a certain concept or a topic is about, and one of them is about sex. So when you have some time, take a look at it. Part of the reason why they believe this is when they go back and look at indigenous cultures, what they find is before there is the advent of ownership of land, of property, when everybody owns everything, what they find is that everybody is also sleeping with everybody else. And there is no concept of this is my child, this is your child. The village owns a child. You see a child on the floor, anybody could grab it. And it's only after you have some idea that, you know what, this land belongs to me, this is my property, this is my stuff, that you now start saying, okay, well, this girl belongs to me, because if this child belongs to me, because I have to, and they have to inherit what I have, and that sort of thing. And so before that, there is none of that concept.
Yes.
So I do believe that.
And I believe that too. Bola, go ahead.
I was going to say, nature versus nurture, it's kind of hard to delineate, because I think what has been nurtured in us eventually becomes nature. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's very difficult for us to say it's one over the other. I will say the universe allows for either or both or whatever it is. Yeah. Whatever your perspective is, you can have it, particularly given the culture that you said. They're polygamous cultures, like you said, like our parents are the first generation of monogamous, well, they tried monogamy,
they tried.
and they're struggling, you know what I mean? But the point is, the polygamy was very much accepted. Yeah. People weren't batting an eye. The fact that you want to take on 4 or 5 different wives, you got money to pay for it, do you? You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a thing. So I don't know if there's right or wrong. I don't know what nature, nurture, whatever is. Once again, I'm going to go back. The universe will not reward people who are deceitful,
if you're all over
causing
the place.
misery.
I don't know, because Donald Trump became president, and he still hasn't gotten arrested. I don't know. Like, seriously.
The man does not look happy to me. He doesn't look happy.
Let me say this.
He's still in jail. He keeps winning.
For me personally, whatever it is that you want to do,
winning.
Whatever you want to do.
And Abacha died while having sex. So I don't know. Like, he went out in a blaze of glory. Who cares at this point?
Let me say this. I think it's really, really important when you're dealing with relationships to know that you have to nurture what you believe in, and I like that word. The society also puts certain things in our head, and that's what we consider a norm today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, nurturing, and that takes me back to agreeing with Mack in a kind of twisted, weird way that it's bullshit. Either we're monogamous or you want to find out how polygamous your wife is? Don't Abba in a situation where she doesn't feel.
Let her go to a Drake party.
Now that's a temptation we're not gonna put ourselves through right? Now, is it? Let's not put ourselves through unnecessary temptation.
But as people, if our needs are being filled, we also tend to give into it. Yeah. And there's only so much we can give, because there's only so much energy in any one human being.
There's only so much time, yeah.
There's only so much time. So either it's polygamous or we're not polygamous. I don't really give a shit. It's a choice for me to stay monogamous because there are values behind it. And when you sow your treasures, I don't know if that phrase is properly framed, but when you are, even if you want to spread your resources across multiple stocks in the market, in the stock market, right? You're trying to play. You better know what you're doing. At the end of the day, you are kind of like driving death. At the same time, even when you are being diversifying, you're still driving some death because you don't want to be all over the place and be buying penny stock. People that buy penny stocks, you know what happens to their money? They lose it. people that gamble, most people that's essentially what I see when I see somebody say, I just carry anybody. Well, you either catch disease or your life is going to be upside down.
So true.
You're covering up for, it's just too much energy that goes into that. And if you're trying to build a life, an empire or something like that, you're just better off having a good woman on your side, or vice versa, that you guys are on the same side, because of energy, because resource allocation, resource management, basically is what it comes down to, you know.
And when you don't have the drama, you can actually then free your mind to build meaningful things. You can build a business, you can invest in things, you can have the clarity of mind to do meaningful things. But if you run around trying to keep up one lie over the other, or you're trying to impress one person, I mean, you're wasting so much energy and resources.
Hold up. Mr. Kingsman has a story to tell.
What's that?
He has a story that he said women are perfect in cheating. He has a story to tell. Listen, the whole idea that women are not as polygamous or as polygamous as men, I'm telling you, has everything to do with the idea of ownership of property.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that is when women were now, because now I can't tell whether or not that's my baby or not. So now I got to prevent this woman from sleeping with everybody else. And then men could go out and sleep with anybody because, well, you know what? As long as I know she ain't sleeping with anybody else, all those are my kids.
Yep.
So that's what brought that in there. But everybody, from my perspective, are just as polygamous. People are sexual. That's just nature.
That's one of the problems that I have with religion in general. When they try to explain this polygamous thing and why you should stay with one person or why you should keep your virginity, it's always some bullshit that's surrounding rules. And rules with that value is bullshit. People will be people. People will try to survive if they have to survive. Yes. If it means they will do the wrong thing. You ever seen somebody do the wrong thing and then literally go and say, and like you're preaching to the choir. They know what's wrong. You know, they know what's wrong. They know what's right. You know, so I just think it's really, really important to look at things from a standpoint of value. What am I getting out of this? Why am I doing this? What is in it for the other person? What is in it for me? And I know it almost sounds like transactional, but that's just our nature as people. That's more of our nature, not the polygamous thing. We will do polygamy if there's value in it. Sometimes the value is mental. It's completely mental. It's just so I can make the next person happy. Sometimes it's just that. But it's still value. You know?
Yeah.
It don't take ladies long to figure out that their man is cheating on them. Trust me, men don't know how to cheat. I said this earlier, bro. Thank you, man. Trust me, men don't know how to cheat. Are you a woman or man? I am Kingsman is a man. They get caught. Trust me, women are better detective in relationship.
They are.
That's also a valueless activity.
I don't know what y'all talking about. I'm an excellent detective.
You have to watch your husband.
If you have to be watching over your shoulder every second, that's a terrible life.
Once again, we're talking about waste of energy, resources. Vibrate higher. Vibrate higher,
Come
people.
on, man.
Vibrate higher.
Come on, man.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Figure out something else to do with your time. Yeah.
If I have to look over my shoulder, I said, it's okay. It's been lovely. I love you to death. Why don't we go find other sexual partners?
Exactly.
You know, you will see the examples even in America all the time. You see Didi say he loves all his baby mother. That's real. They can love all this baby mother without having sexual relationship with them, and they don't have to be in marriage with them. Yes. And people need to understand that. If you understand that, life will be a lot more easier for a lot of people. But when you get stuck on certain values that at the end of it doesn't give you results, that's the problem. I see it's valuable to you, but it doesn't get you results. Then you find yourself wasting so much energy on being a detective in your own house.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
This was fun.
All right, yeah, this is awesome.
We enjoyed it.
I want you. We couldn't keep another 2 hours.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's always the case. Anytime we get together, we just go on.
We got a lot to say.
We got a lot.
All right.
But this was fun. We enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely. Appreciate it.
Thanks to everyone who joined. Oh, by the way, someday is today.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Sundays today. Podcast.
Go ahead and like, what's it called?
Like, comment, subscribe, download, share.
You guys be going in. I check out the podcast
Do you
from time
listen?
to time. You guys can.
Do you listen?
You guys can. Yeah. You guys can fit into 1 hour either.
Yeah.
We can't. We struggle. We be having part 1, 2, 3, part 4.
Oh my God.
Right.
But it's good.
Now,
Yeah.
here's what I want to do, Bola. On my business channel, maybe within the next week or 2 weeks or so, I want to bring you guys on. We'll talk the consulting stuff and what that would feel like. Business world stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good.
Right.
Awesome.
That'd be good. Let me give a shout out to my girl Esther. I see she just joined. Esther, I'm gonna call you, boo. I see you just joined.
Which
Happy
Esther?
birthday! I just been busy.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday,
Happy
Esther.
birthday, Esther.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
I just been busy all day, but I'm gonna call you. You sleep. Yeah.
The whole conversation, Esther. Oh, like,
She did miss the whole conversation.
I know she like, oh,
But we love you, Esther. Happy birthday!
Enjoy your
Happy birthday, Esther. I love the family. All right, guys.
Black men don't cheat. Black men don't cheat.
All right.
He said we got great Nigerian men.
Black men don't cheat. Absolutely not.
Black men don't cheat.
Absolutely not.
Only boys.
Absolutely not.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right.
Peace. Yep.
All right, take it easy.
Yep.
You too.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out.
Oh, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Jesus.
Anything you want to round up? We're about to round up. We're calling it a day.
You're the talker. You round it up. Oh,
Esther, you
Esther
missed.
missed it.
Follow.
Yes.
Anyway, it's such a long time. I haven't seen you in a long time. Tell Aki what's up.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. Did you cover everything? I think we did, right?
We did.
More than enough.
With the lady that has
Maybe we should drag Esther here next week. Esther.
yeah, maybe we should. She probably has a lot to say.
I'll text you. I'll text you. See if you can drag you and your husband up and talk.
We can learn something from you guys.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Double tap. Tell everyone we're still here hanging out at Lola and Ola.com. Check it out, lolaandola.com. We have a free book over there. Go check it out.
Yes.
And we're also putting articles up there every week. Very useful articles that you can share with your loved ones that may be struggling with this thing called marriage. Thank you so much. Esther, we'll talk soon. Bye now.
All right.
Do me a favor. Help me tell them out there that Nigerian men are different. We love completely good night from there. Good night, Mr. Kingsman. Mr. TK, thank you so much for hanging out together.
Thank you.
Bye.